Hello, I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you? I was on live earlier today, um, having a little bit of a crash out. No big deal. Good, cool. So earlier today, this morning, I came on live and I shared my book collection of self help books and was just kind of like ranting a little bit about um, some things. Hello on YouTube. Hey, Kate. So I was just kind of ranting. That video is on my YouTube channel now. It's like 2.5 hours long or something. But just some things I like just felt like I really needed to get off my chest and share some insights about some, life and um, my journey with writing and things like that. So, hi, Liv. Yeah. So, if you guys aren't interested in hearing my rant and got like 2 hours to kind of like just hang out, um, that's on my YouTube channel. That is up on my YouTube channel now. In this live, I wanted to. I wanted to just review again the books that I had suggested earlier. Not all of them, just the ones that I personally read and want to read. I think I might also read part of one of them. Because I got really motivated after I was talking about that earlier. And I was like, damn, like, there's a lot of these books that I need to finish. And I just haven't had the time to. So that's something I might also want to make as a new goal for this. Yeah, the name is the same on YouTube. Gonna be like a new goal for me to really get through some of these books and things. This is my YouTube channel here. So yeah, so we talked a lot about a lot of different books, but I have sort of some of my favorite ones here that I just want to get into again. So the first one is Unfuck Yourself. I talked a little bit about this earlier. This is a really good one. I already finished this one, so this one I did actually finish reading. The Mountain Is You is a really good book if you are struggling with feeling like you just keep kind of ending up in the same situation. This is all about self-sabotage and things like that. So that's actually what I do want to get back into. Romancing the Beat is a writing book, and I was thinking about maybe reading a chapter of that today on live. This book is really small, so there's not really a whole lot of content. It's pretty simple to understand too. And also I need to get back into writing, so I need to really start to prime my mind to get back into that space. Hey Yuki, what's up? Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is one I talked about earlier. This one is also really good if you are a creator or a writer or just an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out sort of how to tell your story or like how to stand out in like the crowd. Now 30. Shit. How to stand out in like the crowd of different businesses and things that there are nowadays. Just rapid fire through some of these. Change Your Paradigm by Bob Proctor. He's all about manifestation and things like that. This is one I kind of want to get into to kind of I might actually read from this one today because I feel like I'm currently going through a paradigm shift, and I feel like that's that's kind of one that I need to get into. Start with Why is one of my favorite books here by Simon Sinek. He also has a TED Talk that kind of talks about the same topic, but he's all about finding your purpose in life and in business. His TED Talk is really good. I actually recommend just watching the TED Talk too. Think and Grow Rich is a classic Napoleon Hill book. This is like if you are living with a poor mindset, poor money mindset, broke mindset, this is literally going to change your entire existence. Right off the bat, he doesn't play around, he gets right into the shit and teaches you how to manifest, teaches you how to start to really come out of like that poor, broke person kind of mindset, money mindset. Atomic Habits will also change your life. This is literally a blueprint of how to basically start any kind of habit, any kind of routine, anything that you really want to do. It's literally gonna hold your hand through the entire book, through the entire process on how to do that. This is such a life-changing kind of breakdown of how to stay consistent with yourself. And after finishing this book, and I did actually finish this book, after finishing this book and really considering a lot of what he was talking about, this is how I was able to do my 1 year drawing journey, hands down. Like if I had never read this book and finished this book and took into consideration a lot of the things that he was talking about, put into practice a lot of the things that he talked about, I would have never been able to stay consistent, to build little habits and things like that, to be able to get to the point I am, where I actually looked through some of my this is kind of like a side tangent, but I was looking through some of my my Procreate shit the other day, and I was just like, wow, like I've really been drawing for a long time. And I still have stuff in here from like a long time ago, and I actually found some of my like original storyboards for the comic and some of my original sketches here, and I want to show you guys, just to show like how far I've come without all this. And I'm only showing this to emphasize how I was able to get through this drawing journey with the help of building these little tiny habits, which is what this book is all about. So I think it's actually right here. Just like some of these are pretty old here, but like this is where I was with some of my, yeah, these are like original storyboards. Like you might even recognize some of these panels if you've like read my story and are pretty familiar with the panels and things. This one I was just showing is Tae Young from episode 4, but these are from like 2023, 24, and obviously I have like some other stuff I thought I had in here, some like original, actually I do, they're in a folder though, hold on. It's gonna be in a folder called like sketches, probably. Hold on, let me see. This is like a side tangent, it's like a side quest. You know what? Let me see. It might be down here a little bit. We're side questing. I definitely threw some stuff. Oh, is this it? Oh, that's a newer one. I wish we could like search on here. Like, why can't we search? So annoying. Wait, is this it? What am I getting into right here? These are some old drawings there. Okay, I think I'm hitting something here. Hold on. Oh, there's some NSFW. Alright. Oh, that's so annoying. I definitely I threw the old sketches up here, I thought. Hold on. I know that they're in here. some of the plushies there. Hold on, I'm like side questing like really hard right now. I just rearranged everything, so I'm like really trying to figure out like where I'm at right now. Okay, maybe this is it. These are some of my old sketches. These are some of like the really old sketches, yeah. Yep, here it is. Yeah, these are all like my old sketches. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, oh, sorry, YouTube. You're like way over there. Come over here, YouTube. Join the party. All right. Sorry, I had my whole thing like way far over. Just to talk about it, I was just talking about it with Atomic Habits. Reading this book, even though it's like a kind of like a lifestyle, like, you know, it's like a whatever book, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, being an artist, if you really want to get better at art, and you're trying to figure out how to do that, like how do you sort of build a routine to get better at art, this book will definitely help you. Because like I said, I went from not knowing how to draw anything at all. Like this folder that I'm in right now is actually, I think, some of my very first drawings. um like when I say like I didn't know how to draw, like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, dude. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I literally just looked at things and tried to mimic it. So that's what a lot of these like original drawings are like, to the point where I really didn't know how to draw faces. So like I had to remember different shapes to do that, like sort of, you know, was just easy, so I could remember like, oh, a nose looks like this and a mouth looks like this. Like these are really like long time ago drawings for me. So I went from that. I'm showing you these to kind of just make the point that what I did with Atomic Habits, what I took from this book was setting small achievable goals. So like I set for myself a 30-day goal. I was like, it doesn't matter the quality of art that I draw in these first 30 days. That's not the point. It's the fact that I finish it. I had a problem in general with just not finishing stuff. So, like, I was like, I have to be able to finish this goal that I'm setting. And that, in doing that, I know that I was successful. So it wasn't that, like, oh, my art looked like, you know, exactly how I wanted it to look or anything like that. It had nothing to do with that. What was important was that I finished the goal. That's it. So I set the goal, I did the goal, and a lot of that is actually these first couple drawings. Like I did some of these in the first 30 days. These ones here I did like in the first 30 days. And in there, I sketched a lot. Like there's a lot of just different things I just tried to do. I didn't think too much about it. I just was like, you know, I'm just seeing things, I'm just practicing things. Also kind of trying to just get used to Procreate in general, because I just never used it before, and I was still trying to understand like all the different features and things. And you know, just taking my time, like not really, like this one isn't me drawing it, I actually traced over this one. So just kind of like trying to understand, like, how do you even use this fucking program? Like I had no idea. I was trying to understand, like, in this kind of situation, I was trying to understand just how to even make lines and have the lines connect. Like that's how much of a beginner I was when it came to drawing in the beginning. But after I kind of got through this part, then I was able to start really actually drawing very well. Some things I did, like there's like some assets that I had. Like I had eyelash assets for this one I drew. But like the hair, I drew the hair and stuff like that. But every time I got through a small part of the journey, I tried to set a smaller goal. And that again was what he talks about: tiny changes, remarkable results. So like I wasn't focused on, oh, like shit, I gotta be really good. I was just like, okay, can we maybe just come up with a way to draw mouths and noses and have that be consistent. Like every single time I drew something, again, these are some of my, like, if you can see the dates here, like these are some of my original drawings, like January 12th of 2024. This isn't even last year. This is 2024. Started some of these in 2023. Every single time I finished like what I called an era, which was just kind of like usually about like 4 to 6 drawings. I kind of just focused on a small aspect. So let me get this TikTok to be focused here. So I just focus on like a small thing. So like in this era, I try to focus on like portraits. Then I, did a bunch of sketches in between, in between, in between. And then this era, I try to focus on like more like half bodies and just really trying to understand like what that looks like. And this one was actually cool because I try to do like a background. Um, but half bodies here, then I was like, okay, and then I just sketched. I sketched almost like every single day. I was just practicing, just seeing things, practicing. No real, I didn't watch any videos. I didn't, look at anything else. I just kind of went off the riff and just kind of like did what I saw. Then I started to get into some more stuff here, as you can see. Again, practicing, not thinking too much about it. Like, really, really tried not to think too much about it. Tried not to think too much about how it looked. Meaning, like, oh, it's bad. Like, and focus on that. You know what I mean? I was like, let's just keep going, keep practicing, try to understand a little bit more, a little bit more. And then eventually, when I did get something good, like this one, I was like, cool. All right, that's definitely, works for me. This era, I focused on adding some dialogue, as you can see, and I actually wrote notes. Like, every time I went through an era, I tried to take notes and reflect on what I just accomplished and where I felt like I was still stuck and my frustrations and things like that. Like I made it like a little journal about it. So like here it says, this era I've been focused less on perfection and more just on completion. Finishing a sketch and making it into a final drawing since I had started so many sketches. I focused on analyzing the references, structure, and angles and did my best with the level of skill I have now to replicate it. So stuff like that. Really important to have those reflections, which I think he also talks about in this book. Just wanted to show you that just to kind of emphasize how much that book really influenced me in my art journey. And whoops, that's a little NSFW. But yeah, so just like you can see like how much work that actually went into it. And the other thing I want to say with that too, especially if you're a beginner artist, it's so important to not compare yourself because as you just saw, like I have a shit ton of sketches. I have more sketches than I do like final drawings. And that's usually how it goes for people. Like you're gonna have a lot more practice than you are final drawings. So anytime that you see people's artwork and it's on Instagram and it looks so great, and you're like, oh wow, why can't I draw like that? I want to draw like that. I'll never draw like that. You have those thoughts and things like that. Just remind yourself that like there's moments where we're out here literally just trying our best. Like we have to get to that point somehow. Do you know what I mean? Like, so practicing, sketching, things like that is also part of these bigger creators' journeys and these really established artists' journeys. Yeah, Yuki, that's not hard not to compare, but I know what you mean. You're right, you're right. It is hard not to compare, but it's so important that you just remind yourself and have some grace with yourself that and comfort in the thought that they had to start from somewhere, just like you have to start from somewhere. They also had to start from somewhere, and you know, they might be a little bit ahead of you or whatever that means in skill or whatever that would be like. But you're literally seeing my stuff right now, all the stuff that I've had to go through just to get to the point that I'm at now, which is me actively trying to find where my current sketches are. Because I like messed everything up the other day when I went through here. Because I was gonna show some of my like newer art, but everything's a mess in here. I have a lot of NSFW in here. I gotta be careful. So it's like, let's see. Everything's in a folder. Let's see where this folder's at. We're side questing. We're side questing. I've been working a lot on reels and things, so everything's just kind of like in like different places now. But yeah, if you guys feel me on that, I'll get back to my book in a second. I'm just like, honestly, I'm confused now. I'm like trying to look for my stuff. Procreate needs to get better with this. Like, I don't understand why this is not. There's like not a better way of organizing things on here, unless there is and I'm like missing it. Whoops. Unless there is and I am missing it. For sure, because it's like annoying sometimes to use this. I'm still looking. Is this it? No, that's the last one. Is this it? Oh, this is another whole entire folder that I have of just like random sketches that I've tried and abandoned and don't know if, yeah, what's your question? Just ask your question and I'll look at it. Just like different sketches I've tried and abandoned, and but it's okay because all of it is just practice. I tried to draw Toji at one point. So I don't know what else I have in here. This was supposed to be like Chozo, I think. Yeah, see, 2024, that's so long ago. You're struggling with commissions. Any advice? The Chozo one looks good. Thank you. What kind of struggles are you having with commissions? Like getting commissions, or like what exactly about it? But yeah, just like this is another sketch from March 2025. So this is like over a year ago. Just literally just sketching, you know, never stopping the journey of trying to learn. And I think that's really what's important. So again, I'm showing you this stuff so you guys can just keep this in mind, that like not every finished drawing you see on Instagram or wherever you see it is gonna be like, means that like, oh, they had it like the first time. Do you know what I mean? But let me know like what you're struggling with your commissions, like getting commissions or like drawing the commissions. Like what exactly about it? This is like a really old sketch of San, June 2025. That's so funny. That's why I like brought all this stuff up, because I was like, I really kind of just wanted to like look back on some of my art too, and kind of just like see what's in here. These are some of like the old storyboards and things for this. I think this might have been like one of the first kind of logo designs that we had. Getting commissions. So, here, while I talk, I'll kind of just like side quest and draw something. Um, so I think like it can be really hard, honestly, if you're not on one of these platforms like Fiverr or VGen. Do you mind if I ask how old you are? Are you like younger, like in your 20s or something like that? Or are you like older like me? Um, Somebody had told me earlier like Discord is like a place. I don't use Discord though. Oh, you're 25, okay. Um, so you can do it on Fiverr, depending on like your art style and like your level of experience and things like that. I use Fiverr all the time. I've been using it for like 7 years, um, to hire people for various different projects and things like that. It's something that isn't like VGen. Like VGen, you need to get accepted and things like that. Fiverr is similar to VGen, where they like kind of help to manage your money and things like that. But there's no barrier to the entry. So you can put some of your art up there. You can promote your art through that link and things like that. Um, and try to get commissions like that. But if it's a matter of like you don't know how to market yourself, that's different. If you don't know how to market yourself to get commissions, one of the things I can recommend. Well, like, tell me what your current situation is. Like, what is your current situation? Are you posting on an art account on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube? Like, what's the situation? Are you just a commission artist? Do you have a comic too, or like what's your situation? So so I'll show you like this. Okay. Do it like this. These are the 4 main platforms that you can be on right now that would be helpful: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All right. You're posting on Instagram. Okay, so what you would want to do is, if it's a matter of like marketing and promoting yourself, um, I would say there's like 2 main ways that you could do this, and you can kind of see like what would work for you. But if I'm thinking about like if I'm a commission artist and I'm trying to get people to find me and then get people to want to work with me, I would have like on Instagram, I would have like a personal account and like a personal art account, right? And then I would have like a fan art account. The personal art account would be like any of my OCs. It would be like just sketches, just whatever. It could be like whatever I personally want to do. But the fan art account is going to be more catering to people's like interests and fandoms and things. You could think like JJK. I don't know like what you're into. Lads, like I'm just thinking for myself. Like if I was an artist and I was doing this, lads. What else do I like? I like Inuyasha. Like I would probably do a lot of that. Fruits Basket. Like I would just think of like all the different anime, manga, games, TV shows, music, like whatever it is that there's different fandoms for, and I would just do a bunch of different OC or character art for that. So what this is gonna do is obviously gain people's attention because people don't care usually about what we have to say, but they're gonna be more interested in like this kind of stuff, right? That's the stuff that they're online for. They're gonna probably follow you for this content. You can continue to make this kind of content. Okay, Genshin. So then you can do Genshin stuff or whatever. So they're gonna follow you for the Genshin stuff, but you're also gonna have like this art account in your bio, right? On this account. Um, And you could even, I mean, honestly, you could probably have like 3 accounts if you really wanted to, because you could do like a comms account too. But we'll say this is your personal art account and your comms, um, just depending on like how you want to do it. Or you could even do, depending on your comms. Actually, you can even maybe have your comms be on your fan art. Hold on, let me think for a second. Let me think for a second. Hold on, because I'm trying to think of like if people are commissioning you. Let's do it on the other account actually. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that. We're gonna keep it on this one. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. So you're gonna have a personal art account. That's gonna be your dump for all your personal stuff. This is gonna be your comms and your fan art, because if you find people that like Genshin and they know that you do commissions, then they might want to get Genshin commissions, which then just also gives you more content to put on this account. So I think that's how you do it. So personal account, and then you're also going to make a comms account. You're going to have each of these different accounts in the bios for each other. So like on Instagram, it's going to be like, you'll be like digital artist as your thing at the top there, and then you'll be like, for like the com and fan art account, you could be like um I don't know, this is just like off the top of my head, right? Like you could be like um I don't know, I'm just gonna put this here for now: fan art and commissions, right? You could I don't know, what else you might want to put here, like use Procreate. You could like tag Procreate maybe, and then you could say link below for commissions or something like that, or DM, or however you want to do it. I would suggest that you have a link and then you do like an arrow like that. You'd have like a link tree or something here, beacons, something that will then, or card or whatever, like that. So, when you start making this kind of content on the fan art, comms fan art account, people are gonna find you because it's Genshin. People are gonna like it. Then they're gonna go to your bio, to your profile. They're gonna see, oh, you do fan art and you do commissions. Okay, I need to go here to get commissions, and that's how you would drive people to your commissions. So you're not only tapping into what they like, but you're also, it's like dual, where now you're also tapping into your getting commissions. Your personal art account, for like the personal, for Instagram, for the personal art, um, again, like I said, this could be like OCs. Oh yeah, I said to have maybe not Procreate here. It could be, you could say like your like OCs and then at your username, like uh whatever your username was, Ali, and that's where you link to your other personal account. So on your personal account, OCs, for comms, and then you at com account, thing like that. And then this would be all your posts for your OCs and all that good stuff like that. So this account is mainly for authority. It's to show that you are like a good creator, right? You have a multitude of different types of things that you do. This account is specifically for fan art. You don't mix your OCs on this account. You don't show any of your own content on this account. But if people are interested, if you ever do decide to make your own comic or something like that, or I don't know, whatever you decide to do, this is where you could put that. And your, maybe your commissioner people, or just your audience from this account later could then come to this account once you start to build up whatever you decide to do. So that's how you do it. That's how you do it on Instagram. You can, if you want to be crazy, do the same exact thing for these other accounts, depending on how much of a social media manager you want to be. So you'd have the same thing where you do personal account and you do your comms account. you do your personal account on YouTube, you do your comms account on YouTube, and let me get like a new page here. So when you have these two accounts, your personal and your comms, you're reaching two different types of people here, two different types of audiences, and you should not think that your people or your fan art people are going to be interested in your personal art. Don't expect that, but you can hope for that. That would be the hope for that. For YouTube, this would be good because for SEO, which is called search engine optimization, you are tapping into all the different keywords. So you'd have like Genshin fan art or whatever, I don't know, Tokyo Ghoul, or like, I don't know, I'm just like saying random things. Like whatever you decide to do fan art for on YouTube, because YouTube is a search engine, you're gonna have people finding your stuff just through that aspect of it. The same thing on YouTube, you'd have your com link and all that stuff in there. And on your personal art account, you can just basically dump everything there. But really the key here is that you're basically just you're basically just repurposing all your content. So anything that you make for the Instagram, you're gonna just throw on these accounts. You're gonna literally just repurpose it onto your comms fan art YouTube, your personal art YouTube, and as like shorts or something like that. And what's great about doing it on YouTube and focusing on YouTube is because on YouTube you can monetize your account. Depending on, I think it's globally, depending on like maybe your location or something like that, you can monetize your account. The fan art one probably is going to have more traction than your personal art account, right? Because it's things that people like. It's Genshin, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, or I don't know, I'm literally just saying random things. Whatever it is that you like, anime, things like that. People are probably gonna find this, like this, subscribe to this more so than your personal stuff. But that's okay, because like I said, you can get monetized as long as you're over 18, which I think you said you're 25. You can start making money from just the content that you make, and that could help you do whatever else you need to do for whatever else you need to do. So that's YouTube. Facebook also has monetization. So you could do the same thing. It's a little bit sketchy on Facebook. With anything to do with Instagram and Facebook is just really sketchy. Like literally today I got a fucking restriction on my Instagram account because I don't know, sent too many links in my DMs or something like that. And they restricted me from posting links in my DMs until like August. Stupid shit. But yeah, Facebook also monetizes. You can make 2 different pages if you wanted to. Otherwise, you could just have like a general art account and then just throw everything on there. And obviously then we have TikTok. TikTok is the best for organic reach. If you make 2 different TikToks, you'd have, again, like your personal art account, personal dump, and then the fan art. And again, same thing, you want to make sure that in the links, once you have access to the links, you can put your card or whatever it is that you use to get commissions into the link there. And that's how you do social media. Pretty simple. Again, you just repurpose all your content across all the different platforms. So that's that. Sorry, I didn't see any of the comments over here on YouTube because I've been talking. The animations. I am a girl, yes. Again, ask me your question if you have a question. You're gonna watch more of the videos, okay. Biggest fan, thank you for supporting. Thank you. Yeah, my videos are making me jealous. I know, right? Hello, Ashley. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy the videos. Thank you so much for your time and effort. If you want, I can draw for you for free. I mean, yeah, like I have, you know, an ad somewhere on my account that has a bunch of information. If you do want to, do any kind of like work for me for the comic, be on the team, just send me an email and send me your portfolio and things like that. And I think I say like tell me your programs that you use and things like that, and then I'll check it out, and then I can determine if there's a role that I might be able to use, you know, or like get your help with. So that's there definitely. Um, but yeah, so let me go back into these books here. I'll keep that up for a second. So yeah, get this book. It's probably like $25 or something like that. Get this book if you're an artist. It's really, really good. So there's that one. Then let's see what else I had. Get out of my bathroom. What are you doing?
Take off your watch.
Okay. Oh, let me back it up a little bit. Okay. This is another one. I started reading this on another live that I have on my YouTube account. I think we did the first chapter the last time. This is called The Story Solution by Eric Edson, and it was recommended to me by my editor. It's really, really good for anybody who wants to be like a screenwriter. And because screenwriting is similar to how we do comic writing, a lot of what he says here is going to be pretty helpful for comic writers, comic creators, and things like that. Because again, it's essentially the same exact thing. Different from novel writing is different. I do also have books for novel writing. This was also given to me by somebody. This goes a lot into really good depth on how to really build your story, how to build a novel specifically. So there's this book by Karen Weisner, and then also this one here, First Draft in 30 Days. So if you're a writer or you're looking for like really good books to sort of get you started on how to write, then this is definitely two books that you should get. So I'll say that. And I did want to read. So if you guys don't want to hear me read, then feel free to either stay or go, whatever. But because this stuff gets recorded, I'm gonna read, and it'll be posted probably to my YouTube channel. So I just go live, and then the videos just go on YouTube usually. But let me see what book I want to do. Let me see. I think I said I was gonna do this one. Change your paradigm, change your life. Yeah, that's what I kind of want to do from, not from like now on, but like on some of the lives. Because it's helpful for me. It gives me a little bit of accountability because I do need to read these books. I have like 30 books that I need to finish reading. And also I think I'm like at a point right now where I need to get back into some, not like self-help books in that way, but I need to go back to some of the foundational concepts and things that you can find in like manifestation and energy and mindset and things like that. Because I'm currently going through a change, and I need to really get back to being connected with myself, you know, and really let me see. I'll put that. I'll like leave this one up here. Yeah. Okay, so let's read this one. Let's just go through. Let's see, chapter one. How long is this? Let's see. Let me kind of see what it's about, though. Okay, yeah, I think this would be a good one to read. So we're gonna start with this one. Again, this is called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, and it's by Bob Proctor. And if you guys don't know who Bob Proctor is, he is, I believe, like kind of a really important person when it comes to like manifestation and mindset and things like that. He has a lot of YouTube videos, I think, of him like going through different like manifestations, I believe. So let's go into this one. Let's read this, okay? Oh, let me get a highlighter. Class is in session, okay? Chapter 1, Your Awesome Power to Change. This is going to be an incredible book for some of you. Why didn't I say all of you? Because I want to stress the vital importance of making a decision to change your life. You decide if it's going to be you. Changing your paradigm takes a committed decision because it goes in the opposite direction of nearly everything we've been taught. We go to school, take a book, read it, ask questions on the material, and then go on to another book. The truth is, we can't possibly understand the contents of the book this way. Reading something once and moving on is not going to do it. Our paradigm was built through repetition, constant, spaced repetition. And that's the way it's going to be changed. But this makes little sense to most people. They're relating to the way they have been and the way they were educated in the past when they weren't really being educated at all. They were merely gathering information. You'll see people with very impressive degrees from prestigious universities who are struggling through their life. They don't have enough money, they don't hold down a good position. If they have their own company, they go bankrupt or go out of business. You think, they're so smart, how could this possibly happen? The truth is, they're not very smart at all. They've gathered a lot of information, but they don't use it. Their behavior is controlled by by their paradigms, not by the information they've got. They're not doing what they know how to do. For some strange reason, they never figure it out. They never stop and analyze their own behavior in relation to what they know. Over the years, I've found that most people who are highly successful have unconscious competence. They cannot articulate why they're doing so well. They may be multimillionaires and they may have built prestigious organizations, but they cannot transfer this knowledge to their children because they don't know why they're doing it. They'll say, well, I just do it. People think these individuals are pretty smart, but it's got nothing to do with being smart. It has to do with their paradigm, because the paradigm controls us to an enormous degree. Success in any undertaking totally depends on what's going inside of our minds. It's got nothing to do with what's going on the outside. I'll pause right there for a second. Hello. Thank you. I really like this different kind of live stream. It's very helpful and open your eyes. Oh, good. I hope so. That's kind of what I hope from this, with sharing you guys some of these books and things that I have here. Some people do extremely well even in the face of bad economic conditions. Even during the Great Depression, not everyone was out of work. Not everyone was broke. Some people did very well, earning millions of dollars. Why did they do very well? What was going on? Why did a few people win? They built their success in their minds. It has to come from the inside out, not from the outside in. We're being controlled by our outside world because we've been trained that way. We've been programmed to let the outside world control us. Paradigms and habits. As I've said, just thinking positively isn't going to do it. That's an illusion. It takes a change in paradigm, and a paradigm is a multitude of ideas that are fixed in our subconscious minds. Ideas that are fixed in our subconscious mind are known as habits. Wait, hold on. Let me back up a little bit. As I've said, just thinking positively isn't going to do it. That's an illusion. It takes a change in paradigm, and a paradigm is a multitude of ideas that are fixed in our subconscious minds. Ideas that are fixed in our subconscious mind are known as habits. A paradigm is a multitude of habits that are fixed in our subconscious mind. A habit is an idea that expresses itself without any conscious thought. I like that. You automatically move. You drive your car primarily by habit. You don't have to think to do it because you've been programmed. If you objectively observe your own behavior for 2 or 3 hours from the time you get up in the morning, you'll see that most of your behavioral patterns are not going to give you the success you desire. Then you have to ask yourself, why am I acting this way? Every day you do the same things because you're programmed to do them. We're programmed to live the way we're living. First of all, we're programmed genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. It's built right into our genes at birth. Each of us is the confluence of a genetic pool that goes back for many generations. It controls us. It controls everything we're doing. A person's paradigm has nothing to do with what they learned in school. If a person has a bad paradigm, they're going to lose, even if they have great education. Their education is not going to help them. First of all, we have to understand how the paradigm is formed. Then we have to understand how it's changed, and that's something most people don't understand. It's not taught in school. There are very few seminars that teach it. When I came across this idea, I was shocked because even though I was working in this field, I didn't really understand this principle. Unconscious competence. Way back in 1961, I was earning $4,000 a year. I owed $6,000, and I couldn't see how I was ever going to get out of it. 5 years later, I was earning over $1 million a year, and I owned a company with branches in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London. I was being very irresponsible. I was living in London. I had moved over there and started a company. I'd go to the Playboy Club and play roulette. I didn't care if I lost the money because I knew where the money was I knew where the money was and how to get it. One day I stopped and asked, how did this happen? Why did my life change so dramatically? I couldn't answer this question. I didn't know why. I had been raised to believe that if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't very smart, but I was earning a lot of money. Then, I'd also been raised to believe that if you don't go to school, you'll never get a good job. I hadn't done this. I went to high school for 2 months. I didn't have a good job, but I owned the whole company. That's when I started to check almost everything I was raised to believe, and I found that most of it wasn't true. Can one person be better than someone else? No. No one is any better than anybody else. The results may be a little better, they may earn more, they may be more productive, they may be able to run faster, but we're all exactly the same. I like that. That kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with the comparisons. So he says, can one person be better than someone else? No. No one is any better than anybody else. Their results may be a little better, they may earn more, they may be more productive, they may be able to run faster, but we're all exactly the same. If you took us all and put us into a fire, we're all going to be reduced to the same level. Damn, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you took us all and put us into a fire, we're all going to be reduced to the same level. We're mass, energy, and vibration. Color, size, gender don't mean anything. We're all the same. We've got to realize we're all subject to laws that are exact. They don't change. They weren't made by men, so men are not going to change them. Our success is going to depend on our understanding and our ability to bring our lives into harmony with these laws. One day I had a euphoric experience and everything in my head started to shift. I didn't know why I was acting as I was. I didn't know why I was winning. I had no formal education, no business experience. I thought, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna find out why I became successful. It took me 9.5 years of conscious and deliberate focus to figure out the answer. When I did, all I wanted to do was work at it. I was in building maintenance. I started cleaning one office and I ended up cleaning a lot of offices in a number of different cities. I left that and went to work at the Nightingale Conant Corporation. I went from earning over 1 million a year to 18,000 a year. 5 years later, I was earning 33,000. I was prepared to pay them to let me work there because of the material they had. I thought Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant were absolute geniuses. What they were doing blew my mind. I didn't know anybody else that was doing what they were doing. I wanted to learn, and I did. I'm highlighting that. I wanted to learn, and I did. I studied them like a scientist. That's when I started to connect the dots. Hello. Right now we are reading Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor. Oh, let me actually put my other phone on the charger. Actually, this one needs to stay on the charger too. Hold on, let me find another charger real quick. I thought I had one here. Okay. Is it gonna work? Nope. Alright, I need another one. Hold on a second. What do we think so far about what he's saying? Hold on, I need to get another charger. Okay. Alright. Charger. Alright. Put this over here. And there we go. Alright. Everything's charging. Okay. I'm gonna take a bite of this cinnamon roll I have. That's good. Okay. So I'm taking a snack break. All right. Okay. That's when I started to connect the dots. I was born during the Depression, and when I was only 6 years old, the whole world went to war. Everything was rationed. I lived through some interesting times when there was nothing but bad news. Nobody was interested in developing a child's mind. My mother was raising three, so getting by was the main deal. In 1961, I started listening to Earl Nightingale's recordings on my little battery operated record player, and I couldn't stop. I had never heard anybody talk like Earl Nightingale. I used to think that if God had a voice, it would be like his. Since then, I've become locked into this material. I've never stopped studying it since from 1961 till today. Developing awareness. This material should be taught in schools, and even before that. You can actually teach it to a baby. We have, as people, become obsessed with the development of the intellect, and we ignore the development of awareness. Become obsessed with the development of intellect, and we ignore the development of awareness. A person can have doctorates in 2 or 3 subjects and yet be unaware of how to earn money, how to build a business, or how to develop personally. Awareness is the key. We want to become aware, I believe, of our oneness with God, with infinite intelligence. The more aware we become, the more it's reflected in our results. A lack of awareness is also reflected in our results. One of Earl's most famous programs was The Strangest Secret, in which he said that you become what you think about. Hold on, and highlight that. One of Earl's most famous programs was The Strangest Secret, in which he said that you become what you think about. The more you look into that idea, the more profound it becomes. I've taken this a bit further by adding that we put the brakes on ourselves through how we choose our thoughts. We have to start by understanding that there's only one part of the universe that we can change, and that is ourselves. I like that. We have to start by understanding that there's only one part of the universe that we can change, and that is ourselves. We can change nothing else. We can't change the conditions or circumstances around us. Okay? We can change nothing else. We can't change the conditions or circumstances around us. We have to adapt to what's going on and keep going. But we also have to understand that we're bigger than the external situations that we're facing. This whole paragraph right here. We have to adapt to what's going on and keep going, but we also have to understand that we're bigger than the external situations that we're facing. I really don't give those things a lot of time because they pass and something else will come. There's always something outside that will control us if we let it. I don't choose to let it. I'm in control of me. Furthermore, it's not just what we think, it's what we internalize, because you can think something without internalizing it. You've got to internalize these thoughts, you've got to emotionalize them, or they're not going to do you any good. If you keep them on a conscious level alone, you can be thinking of wealth and live in poverty. If you haven't internalized the thoughts of wealth, you're going to stay in poverty. It's not just what we think, it's what we internalize. You have to internalize these thoughts and emotionalize them. Neville Goddard, the inspirational author and speaker who usually just went by Neville, put it very well. Excuse me. He said the future must become the present in the imagination of the one who has wisely and consciously created circumstances. The future must become the present. Neville Goddard. We've been given mental faculties that no other form of life has been given. All the other little creatures in the world are completely at home in their environment, they blend in. We're totally disoriented because we've been given the mental faculties to create our environment, yet you can go right through our educational system and learn nothing about these higher faculties. Memory, perception, will, reason, imagination, intuition, these are phenomenal powers, but we do not understand how they work. But do we understand how they work? As the late best-selling author Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. When you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. If you change your perception, you change your world. We've got perfect memory, we've got perfect intuition. All of our higher faculties are perfect. They need developing, but we're not even taught we have them. So we're not taught how to use them. The imagination is not just something to play with. Everything we see, the world around us, was first created in the imagination and then turned into physical results. The world operates by law. Everything we see, the world around us, was first created in the imagination and then turned into physical results. Aerospace engineer Wernher von Braun put it very well. When John Kennedy asked him, what would it take to build a rocket that would carry a person to the moon and then bring him back safely to Earth, von Braun answered, the will to do it. The will is one of our higher faculties. It enables us to hold one idea on the screen of our mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. When you focus on one idea, that idea must move into form. As Andrew Carnegie observed, any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. One of the first laws of the universe is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energies are forever moving into form, through form, and back out of form. So one of the first laws of the universe is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy and form. On a clear day, you can look up into the sky and see a little cloud gather. There's energy moving into form. Then the cloud will start to get dark and heavy, and boom, out comes water. If you stood there long enough, you would see the water go right back to where it came from. Energy returns to its source of origin. That's true with us and with everything that we use. We're living the laws. We're living with laws. Most people don't understand the laws, so they're not living in harmony most of the time. As we understand the laws and bring our life into harmony with them, things start moving in the right direction. As we understand the laws and bring our life into harmony with them, things start moving in the right direction. Ralph Waldo Emerson said the law of cause and effect is the law of laws. What you put out comes back. Ralph Waldo Emerson said the law of cause and effect is the law of laws. What you put out comes back. If you give a lot of good, you're going to receive a lot of good because you're putting yourself in harmony with it. When the secret come out, I think that was supposed to say came out. When The Secret came out, it did a lot of good, but it also confused many people. They believe in the law of attraction. Think of it and you'll attract it. But most of the people that talk about the law of attraction don't really understand it. The law of attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. So the primary law is the law of vibration. And the law of attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. It decrees that everything moves, nothing rests. We live in an ocean of emotion, and we think on a frequency. Thought is energy. Thought is energy. The frequency you're thinking on is going to dictate what you attract to you because it's going to control the vibration that you're in. You can't attract something that you're not in harmony with. If a person is poor, they have no money, they've never had any money, and they're thinking they're going to get rich, all they'll ever do is remain in poverty. They're in a poverty vibration. When they understand that and change it, and they're in a different world, or when they understand that and change it, they're in a different world and they're playing a different game. So the frequency you're thinking on is going to dictate what you attract to you because it's going to control the vibration that you're in. You can't attract something that you're not in harmony with. We believe that education is putting information in our heads, but that's not it at all. Maria Montessori, the famous educator, said, "We send children to school and we think they're cups. We want them to fill up the cup. The truth is, the cups are already full. All the knowledge, all the power there ever was or ever will be is omnipresent. You've already got all the knowledge and power you'll ever need. You don't get energy, you release it, and you release it to desire. When you've got a desire, you've got the energy to do it." Our spiritual DNA is different. There's perfection within every one of us, and that perfection seeks to express itself within and through us. Spirit is always for expansion, for expression. It always shows the essence of who we are as pure and unadulterated spirit. It always wants to express itself in a greater way. That's why we want things. Actually, we don't want to get, we want to grow. I want to run faster. I want to jump higher. Spirit wants to express itself through us. We're spiritual beings. You'll hear people say they're having a spiritual experience. They're not. Their spirit's having a physical experience. The perfection within us is seeking expression all the time. That's why if we run, we want to run faster. If we jump, we want to jump higher. If we sell, we want to sell more. It doesn't matter what we do, we've got the desire to do more. We should understand why. Creative dissatisfaction. When I was a little boy, my grandmother used to tell me, "You should be satisfied with what you got." Grandma was an angel, and we didn't want to say that she was wrong, because how could Grandma be wrong? But she was. We should never be satisfied with what we got. Dissatisfaction is a creative state, and by wanting more, you're going to do more. It's not a matter of getting it. Dissatisfaction is a creative state, and by wanting more, you're going to do more. By wanting more, you're going to do more. It's not a matter of getting it. Yeah. If you think having more is going to make you better, you're kidding yourself. You're going to be miserably disappointed. It's doing more. You're going to bring more of yourself to the party. That's all I'm doing. I'm just bringing more of me to the surface. I want to do a better job than I did yesterday. The idea of retiring seems to indicate that the objective in life is to get enough to live on so you don't have to work. But we're not made for work. Work is made for us. We get satisfaction from our work. You go to work for satisfaction, you earn money by providing service, you provide service to earn money. We've got to get some of this straightened out. We've got it wrong because people in powerful positions had it wrong. And they were teaching us, and we thought, how could they be wrong? Corporations and systems. Up to now, I've been talking about individuals, but let's apply this idea to a larger framework. Let's say a corporation. These principles, hold on. These principles are very important, but I don't think they're properly understood by people in key positions. We spend a lot of money on systems, on buildings, on things, but we don't spend that much on people. Let's take a hotel as an example. When you take the people out of the hotel, you don't have a hotel anymore, you have a building full of stuff. The hotel is people. If we want to build a business, we've got to build the people. Everybody has the potential. We've got to learn how to develop that potential. If you want a person to do a better job, you'd better find out what they want, because the only time they're really going to try to do better is when they're working towards something they really want. You've got to want something in order to bring more of yourself to the party. You've got to want something in order to bring more of yourself to the party. We tell employees, listen, you've made a mistake. Let me show you how to do this right. But they go back to the way they've been doing the task because they're programmed to do it that way. That's their paradigm. And telling them something isn't going to change it. They may change for today or tomorrow, but then boom, right back to the paradigm. The paradigm is like a thermostat. It controls the temperature of the person's performance. The paradigm is like a thermostat. It controls the temperature of the person's performance. If you want to change the temperature of their performance, you've got to change the paradigm. You have to change that thermostat, and to do that, you have to understand it. You have to start educating people so that they start to understand who they are, and what makes them tick. I've gone into companies and taught these principles. The results have been astronomical. Way back in the 70s, I went into Prudential of America and Metropolitan, two of the largest insurance companies. We raised the sales by hundreds of millions of dollars by teaching the people to form a couple of new habits. I got people to commit to being in front of a prospect by 9 a.m. and asking them to purchase $100,000 worth of insurance. We told them, you don't even have to sell it. Just ask them to buy. The only two things you have to do differently are to be in front of somebody before 9 a.m. and ask them to purchase $100,000 in insurance. They were selling more $100,000 policies in a week than they had in a year. I've gone into prison and seen the same thing happen. When you show a person why they're getting the results they're getting and what they have to do to change those results, there's a pretty good chance they're going to do it. If you're just trying to get them to change, they're not going to do it. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. If you decide to change, then you'll change. If I decide that you'll change and you didn't, you're going to resist my efforts. We've got to make it appealing to people to want to do better, to change, and to be more productive. To do that, we have to understand what makes them tick. We have to understand how their mind functions. Understanding how the mind functions isn't just for psychologists. It's for everybody, because the mind is movement. The body is the manifestation of that movement. There was a story about Mahatma Gandhi. Someone was coming through a huge crowd of people toward him and handed him a piece of paper saying, "Would you write down some profound idea and message for me to take home?" Gandhi wrote down, "I am my message." If you are the leader, you have to be operating at the vibrational level at which you hope the people around you will operate. You have to be living out your aims for your organization. In the same way, if we want people in the organization to understand themselves, we got to understand ourselves. We have to be studying with them. I think I said that on live this morning, that if you are going to, that when you understand yourself, you can understand others better. The thing I enjoyed the most about working with Earl Nightingale was that he was forever studying. He studied all the time, and it was like Gandhi said, "I am the message." Earl was the message. I would watch what he was doing and what he studied On one occasion, he had a book holder on his desk with a book by the early 20th century inspirational author Thomas Troward. It was open to a certain page. What's significant about that? I asked. I've been studying that for 3 months. Same page? Yeah. When I understand it, I'll go to the next page. I started doing that. I've got all of Troward's books, and I study them all the time. I started doing what Earl did. He was the message to me. I think that's what we've got to do. If we're going to lead people, we've got to do what we want them to do. There's no point telling people to do something if you're not doing it yourself. Understand your program. The paradigm is the most important concept that anyone can study. It controls everything in our lives. Now, I think I've got a pretty good understanding of this concept, but I want to understand it better, so I keep studying more. If you want to change something, you've got to use repetition. If you'd only been told your name once, you wouldn't even know what it is. They had to call you by your name over and over until finally you started to respond to it. A lot of the ideas that are controlling people right now are absurd, and they were originated by someone that may have lived before 300 or 400 years ago, but they've passed along in the DNA since then, and they become part of your DNA. This kept expanding for about 280 days after conception until you made your debut on the planet. Your mind was wide open. Everything that was going on around you went into your subconscious mind. Most people are starting out behind the 8 ball. That's okay because you can change that. I was 26 when I started to change. I've done fairly well. I've helped a few million people change, but I've still got a lot to learn. I've been at it for a long time. I've gone into prisons, gone into schools, gone into corporations. The human being is a fascinating expression of life. We've got awesome powers locked up within us. If we're going to change, we've got to understand what's involved. If you're going to drive a car, you have to understand what the gear shifts are for. You have to understand something about your computer if you're going to work with it. There are programs in our computer, and we rely on them. If we want the program change, we have it done by somebody that writes the code. Your paradigm is a program, and it's in your biocomputer. The people who wrote the code for the program controlling your life knew nothing about the mind. They were passing along what they had received. Nevertheless, they installed this program through repetition. We were taught the same things over and over. How to use a spoon, how to walk, how to get one foot in front of the other. It was repetition, patient, constant, spaced repetition. Okay, I think I have like 2 more pages. I think I'm gonna stop there with that one. But this one, this one's interesting. There's a couple good things I like about what he said so far, and they're things that I've already been sort of thinking. That was really good. I need to get myself those books you mentioned. Yeah. This is definitely interesting. This is an interesting book. And just knowing who Bob Proctor is kind of helpful to understand the context that he's talking about. Otherwise, it probably sounds like a little crazy, but if you research Bob Proctor, then you really will kind of understand a little bit more about what he's saying. Now, this one, I want to read a little bit from this one because this one will really fuck you up. Because it did fuck me up. Because what she says is so real. If you're struggling with the things that she kind of talks about here. Should I start from the beginning or should I start from where I was in the book? I should probably start from the beginning, huh? Alright, so I'm gonna clip that and let's read a little bit from this one. This one is really, really good. This one has a lot of, as you can see, I highlighted a lot. This has a lot of good kind of like quotes and things. So, The Mountain is You: Transforming Self Sabotage into Self Mastery by Brianna West. I'm going to skip over the introduction. Okay. There's nothing holding you back in life more than yourself. If there's an ongoing gap between where you are and where you want to be, and your efforts to close it are consistently met with your own resistance, pain, and discomfort, self sabotage is almost always at work. On the surface, self sabotage seems masochistic. It appears to be a product of self hatred, low confidence, or lack of willpower. In reality, self sabotage is simply the presence of an unconscious need that is being fulfilled by the self sabotaging behavior. To overcome this, we must go through a process of deep psychological excavation. We must pinpoint the traumatic event, release unprocessed emotions, find healthier ways to meet our needs, reinvent our self image, and develop principles such as emotional intelligence and resilience. It is no small task, and yet is the work that all of us must do at one point or another. She's not fucking around. From the first sentence, she's like, "You are the problem." I love that. I love that. This book is great. Okay. Self-sabotage is not always obvious at the onset. And when you start reading a lot of these books, you'll start to notice that a lot of them are mentioning a lot of the same people. Carl Jung is a psychologist, but in the other book, he was like mentioning a lot of different people's names. And if you do a little bit of research into some of those people, they probably also have some books or some like literature and things that could also be helpful. But yeah, so right here. So self-sabotage is not always obvious at the onset. When Carl Jung was a child, he fell on the ground in school and hit his head. When he got hurt, he thought to himself, yes, maybe I won't have to go back to school tomorrow. Or maybe I won't have to go back to school now. Though he is known today for his insightful body of work, he actually didn't like school or fit in with his peers. Shortly after his accident, Jung began experiencing sporadic and uncontrollable fainting spells. He unconsciously developed what he would call a neurosis, and ultimately came to realize that all neuroses are a substitute for legitimate suffering. In Jung's case, he made an unconscious association between fainting and getting out of school. He came to believe that the fainting spells were a manifestation of his unconscious desire to get out of class, where he felt uncomfortable and unhappy. Likewise, for many people, their fears and attachments are very often just symptoms of deeper issues for which they do not have any better way to cope. Self-sabotage is a coping mechanism. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. I'm going to highlight that. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to unconsciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Sometimes we sabotage our relationships because what we really want is to find ourselves, though we're afraid to be alone. Sometimes we sabotage our professional success because what we really want is to create art, even if it will make us seem less ambitious by society's measures. Sometimes we sabotage our healing journey by psychoanalyzing our feelings, because doing so ensures we avoid actually experiencing them. Sometimes we sabotage our self-talk because if we believed in ourselves, we'd feel free to get back out in the world and take risks, and that would leave us vulnerable. Sometimes we sabotage our self-talk because if we believed in ourselves, we'd feel free to get back out in the world and take risks, and that would leave us vulnerable. In the end, self sabotage is very often just a maladaptive coping mechanism, a way we give ourselves what we need without having to actually address what that need is. But like any coping mechanism, it's just that, a way to cope. It's not an answer, it's not a solution, and it does not ever truly solve the problem. We're merely numbing our desires and giving ourselves a little taste of temporary relief. Self sabotage comes from irrational fear. Sometimes our most sabotaging behaviors are really the result of long held and unexamined fears we have about the world and ourselves. Sometimes our most sabotaging behaviors are really the result of long held and unexamined fears we have about the world and ourselves. Perhaps it's the idea that you're unintelligent, unattractive, or disliked. Perhaps it's the idea of losing a job, taking an elevator, or committing to a relationship. In other cases, it can be more abstract, such as the concept of someone coming to get you, violating your boundaries, getting caught, or being wrongly accused. These beliefs become attachments over time. For most people, the abstract fear is really a representation of a legitimate fear. Because it would be too scary to actually dwell on the real fear, we project those feelings onto issues or circumstances that are less likely to occur. Because it would be too scary to actually dwell on the real fear, we project those feelings onto issues or circumstances that are less likely to occur. If the situation has an extremely low likelihood of becoming reality, it therefore becomes a safe thing to worry about. Because subconsciously, we already know it isn't going to happen. Therefore, we have an avenue to express our feelings without actually endangering ourselves. For example, if you are someone who's deeply afraid of being a passenger in a car, maybe your real fear is the loss of control, or the idea that someone or something else is controlling your life. Perhaps the fear is of moving forward. And the moving car is simply a representation of that. That's like really deep. Honestly, I have the same exact problem when it comes to planes. And it really took me a long time to realize that it's not even flying. It's the fact that I'm putting my life in somebody else's hands. And also the fact that we're like hundreds of thousands of feet above the ground. But but in that fact, putting my life in somebody else's hands super high above the ground. Like with imminent death potentially gonna happen. So I can totally relate to that because it isn't necessarily the act of being a passenger on a plane. It's control for me. It's not being in control because I feel the same way about ships, about trains, about and sometimes being in a car. So I really relate to that. Let me know if you can relate to that. If you are aware of the real issue, you could begin working to resolve it, perhaps by identifying the ways you are giving up your power or being too passive. However, if you aren't aware of the real problem, you'll continue to spend your time trying to convince yourself to not be triggered and anxious while riding in the car and find that it only gets worse. If you try to fix the problem on the surface, you will always come up against a wall. This is because you're trying to rip off a band-aid before you have a strategy to heal the wound. Self-sabotage. This book is called The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss. And you can read it or you can buy it on Amazon for sure. Self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self-sabotage is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Self-sabotage is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Your life is defined not only by what you think about, but also what you think about yourself. Your life is defined not only by what you think about, but also what you think about yourself, or what you think of yourself. Your self-concept is an idea that you have spent your whole life building. It was created by piecing together inputs and influences from those around you. What your parents believed, what your peers thought, what became self-evident through personal experience, and so on. Your self-image is difficult to adjust because your brain's confirmation bias works to affirm your pre-existing beliefs about yourself. Your self-image is difficult to adjust because your brain's confirmation bias works to affirm your pre-existing beliefs about yourself. When we self-sabotage, it is often because we have a negative association between achieving the goal we aspire to and being the kind of person who has or does that thing. When we self-sabotage, it's often because we have a negative association between achieving the goal we aspire to and being the kind of person who has or does that thing. If your issue is that you want to be financially stable and yet you keep ruining every effort you make to get there, you have to go back to your first concept of money. This is really important. How did your parents manage their finances? More importantly, what did they tell you about people who had it and people who didn't? Many people who struggle financially will justify their place in life by disavowing money as a whole. They will say that all rich people are terrible. If you grew up with people who told you your entire life that people who have money are this way, guess what you're going to resist having? So I can actually relate to that because I have a family member who hates rich people, and I come from sort of like a very summer touristy kind of place. And so a lot of rich people come, a lot of wealthy people come during like the tourist season, things like that. And so this family member that I have just always just feels a certain way about them. They have the houses, and the everyday people that live in that area have to still work for the wealthy people and work on their houses and do the things they want to have done to their different things they have. And she's always saying that, she's always told me that. And it wasn't until I started to change my mindset about this kind of a thing that I realized, like, that's a very poor mindset to have, because how are you going to hate that but be middle class income? Wouldn't you want to have that? Wouldn't you want to be the people that have these houses on the beach? Like, wouldn't you want to be, and I'm saying on the beach because like that's where I'm from, so it's like when I would think about my family member, I'm thinking like, don't you want to be that person that can own the house instead of working on the house? Like, very interesting kind of mentality. And it's all kind of like what she's saying here, that like if you're not actively thinking about and changing the way that you think about these things, you're never going to have it. And I found it even in myself when I first started making a lot more money like a few years ago. It would be like I'd make the money and then I would just be broke again, and I'd make the money and I'd go broke again, and I was so used to being comfortable in brokenness that it was hard for me to see thousands and thousands of dollars in my account. It didn't feel right to have that amount of money. I almost felt guilty sometimes to have that amount of money. And I'm actually sort of going through the same kind of thing now where I'm trying to make sure that I don't sit in that same mindset. Hello. You're joining us. You need to go buy this book right here. Um, I'm trying to make sure that I shift my mindset with the financial piece because I've kind of been in a struggle for a little while, and I want to make sure that I don't self-sabotage, like she's saying, like self-sabotage and go back to that comfortability of the things that I've always known. Which is a little bit of like what Bob Proctor was saying too with Change Your Paradigm, where he was talking about like you have to sort of shift your whole entire mindset from the inside out to be able to attract and be in the success and the things that you want. So these concepts go hand in hand. So let's continue. So we were talking here about self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations, and how in this paragraph here she's talking about like if you are basically fearing being wealthy or fearing some kind of financial stability or something like that, or you were raised in a certain way or had these kind of associations, you're gonna then develop sort of the mindset around that, and it's going to prevent you from having those things because you're not going to you're going to have these kind of like thoughts around it. So you have to change your thoughts around it to be able to then be able to accept where you are, where you're going. Okay. So she said here, more importantly, what did they tell you about people who had it and people who didn't? Many people who struggle financially will justify their place in life by disavowing money as a whole. They will say that all rich people are terrible. If you grew up with people who told you your entire life that people who have money are this way, guess what you're going to resist having? Your anxiety around the issue that you're self sabotaging is usually a reflection of your limiting belief. Your anxiety around the issue that you're self sabotaging is usually a reflection of your limiting belief. Maybe you associate being healthy with being vulnerable because you had a parent who was perfectly healthy when they suddenly fell ill. Maybe you aren't writing your magnum opus because you don't really want to write. You just want to be seen as successful because that will get you praise, which is typically what people revert to when they want acceptance but haven't gotten it. That's interesting. Maybe you aren't writing your magnum opus because you don't really want to write. You just want to be seen as successful because that will get you praise, which is typically what people revert to when they want acceptance but haven't gotten it. Do you see how this book will fuck you up? like like she will call you the fuck out. That's why around like the middle of the book I was like, damn girl, like you got me on that one. And I had to stop reading it. But we'll get there. All right? Maybe you keep eating the wrong foods because they soothe you, but you haven't stopped to ask what they have to keep soothing you from. Maybe you aren't really a pessimist, but maybe you aren't really a pessimist, but don't know how to connect with people in your life other than by complaining to them. In order to reconcile this, you have to begin to challenge these pre-existing ideas and then adopt new ones. So the solution is, in order to reconcile this, you have to begin to challenge these pre-existing ideas and then adopt new ones. You have to be able to recognize that not everybody with money is corrupt, not by a long shot. Even more importantly, given that there are people who use their money in selfish ways, it is even more important that good people with great intentions are fearless in pursuit of acquiring this essential tool to create more time, opportunity, and wellness for themselves and others. You have to recognize that being healthy makes you less vulnerable, not more, and that criticism comes with creating anything for the public and isn't a reason to not do it. You have to show yourself that there are many different ways to self soothe, that are more effective than unhealthy food choices, and that there are far better ways to connect with others than through negativity. Once you begin to really question and observe these pre existing beliefs, you begin to see how warped and illogical they were all along, not to mention distinctly holding you back from your ultimate potential. Holding you back from your ultimate potential. Self sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. Self sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. I think I said something on my other live about this. Like, I was talking something about like uncertainty. Oh, I was talking about like risk and uncertainty, and how like a lot of the experiences that I had in my life were by choosing the option that was more unclear, or like more unclear, more uncertain, had more risk. And in doing that, you would think like that's kind of like contradictory, like you'd probably want to go with the safer option. But like in doing that and choosing the one that had more risk, more uncertainty, it pushed me and forced me to have to grow more as a person very quickly, and really become more resourceful in understanding how to adapt. So self-sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. So let's see what she says about this. Human beings experience a natural resistance to the unknown because it's essentially the ultimate loss of control. This is true even if what's unknown is benevolent or even beneficial to us. Human beings experience a natural resistance to the unknown because it's essentially the ultimate loss of control. This is true even if what's unknown is benevolent or even beneficial to us. Self sabotage is very often the simple product of unfamiliarity. And it's because anything that's foreign, no matter how good, will also be uncomfortable until it is also familiar. Let me read that again. So self-sabotage is very often the simple product of unfamiliarity. And it's because that anything that's foreign, no matter how good, will also be uncomfortable until it's familiar. So it's similar to what I was just saying. This often leads people to confuse the discomfort of the unknown with being wrong or bad or ominous. However, it's simply a matter of psychological adjustment. Gay Hendricks calls this your upper limit, or your tolerance for happiness. Everyone has a capacity for which they allow themselves to feel good. This is similar to what other psychologists refer to as a person's baseline, or their set predisposition that they eventually revert back to, even if certain events or circumstances shift temporarily. Small shifts compounded over time can result in permanent baseline adjustments. However, they often don't stick because we come up on our upper limits. The reason we don't allow those shifts to become baselines is because as soon as our circumstances extend beyond the amount of happiness we're accustomed to, we find ways, both unconscious and conscious, to bring ourselves back to a feeling we're comfortable with. This is exactly what I was just saying with the financial stuff. How I was saying, like, at one point, once I was starting to make thousands of dollars, it almost felt so uncomfortable from what I was used to. Even though it was a positive thing, it was just like, this is weird. And like, I ended up going broke again. And this is something that we see a lot in, like, if you think like of athletes and movie stars and things like that, like especially if they come from like a harder kind of past and things like that, or a lot of like athletes, because usually they're kind of like, picked up from different places, they get all this money, millions and millions of dollars, and then they end up doing these kind of like similar kind of behaviors criminal behaviors or spending all their money and things like that, because it's so different from what they're used to, such a drastic change, and they might not have made that shift that they needed to be able to successfully continue staying in that on that level. So that's kind of like what she's saying here. We're programmed to seek what we've known, even though we think after we're happy, or let me do that again. We're programmed to seek what we've known, even though we think we're after happy. Yeah, that's why, because the sentence is weird. Okay, we are programmed to seek what we've known, even though we think we're happy. Okay, I see what she's saying. Okay. We are programmed to seek what we've known. Even though we think we're after happiness, we're actually trying to find whatever we're most used to. That's interesting. Even though we think we're after happiness, we're actually trying to find whatever we're most used to. And then I want to highlight this part again. The reason we don't allow those shifts to become baselines is because as soon as our circumstances extend beyond the amount of happiness we're accustomed to, we find ways, both unconscious and conscious, to bring ourselves back to a feeling we're comfortable with. Very interesting, because I did say earlier that when I was in that space of making more money, I felt guilty. And it felt different. And then I ended up going back to where I was before. So that was complete self-sabotage. Okay. Self-sabotage comes from belief systems. What you believe about your life is what you will make true about your life. What you believe about your life is what you will make true about your life. That's why it's so crucial to be aware of these outdated narratives and have the courage to change them. That's why it's so crucial to be aware of these outdated narratives and have the courage to change them. Maybe you've gone through the majority of your life believing that a standard $50,000 per salary, a standard $50,000 per year salary at a decent company is the most you'll ever be capable of. Maybe you've spent so many years telling yourself, I'm an anxious person. You started to actually identify with it, adopting anxiety and fear into your belief system about who you fundamentally are. Maybe you were raised in a closed-minded social circle or an echo chamber. Maybe you did not know that you could question or arrive at new conclusions about politics or religion. Maybe you never thought you were someone who could have great style, feel content, or travel the world. In other cases, your limiting beliefs might come from wanting to keep yourself safe. Maybe that's why you prefer the comfort of what you've known to the vulnerability of what you don't. Why you prefer apathy to excitement, think that suffering makes you more worthy, or believe that for every good thing in life, there must also be an accompanying bad. To truly heal, you're going to have to change the way you think. You're going to have to become very conscious of negative and false beliefs and start shifting to a mindset that actually serves you. So self-sabotage comes from belief systems, and the solution here is that you're going to have to change the way you think. You're going to have to become very conscious of negative and false beliefs and start shifting to a mindset that actually serves you. How to get out of denial. Maybe this preliminary information about self-sabotage resonates a bit, or maybe it resonates a lot. Either way, if you're here because you truly want to change your life, you're going to have to stop being in denial about your personal state of affairs. You're going to have to get real with yourself. You're going to have to decide that you love yourself too much to stop settling for less than what you really deserve. If you think that you could be doing better in your life, you might be right. If you think that there is more that you are here to accomplish, you might be right. If you think that you are not being your authentic self, you might be right. It does not serve us to use endless affirmations to placate our true feelings about where we are in our journey. When we do this, we start disassociating or dissociating and get stuck. In an effort to love ourselves, we try to validate everything about who we are. Yet those warm sentiments never quite seem to stick, only ever temporarily numbing the discomfort. Why don't they work? Because deep down, we know we are not quite being who we want to be, and until we accept this, we are never going to find peace. When we are in denial, we tend to go into blame mode. When we are in denial, we tend to go into blame mode. We look for anyone or anything to explain why we are the way we are. Then we start justifying. If you have to constantly, on a nearly daily basis, rationalize why you're unhappy about your life, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not getting any closer to creating the lasting change that you deeply desire. The first step in healing anything is taking full accountability. I said that on my live this morning, that one of the first things that my mentor told me was I needed to take accountability. Full accountability. He said at that point I was like 25 or something, 24, 25, 26. He's like, you're a grown-ass woman. Take accountability of your fucking decisions and the things that you've done in your life. He said it doesn't matter about your mother, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, your kid, whatever. You have to take accountability right now for your life before you do anything else. And that really, really changed the way that I viewed things. Because at that point, being like early mid-20s, you know, you're an adult, but if you're at least somebody like me who grew up kind of like rough, had like some things going on, it still felt like it was all just the result of what I went through in my high school years and my childhood and things like that. 24, 25. But what he was trying to say is that you have to just accept it. You have to just accept it and where you are right now before you can really push through and move on. So right here, and that's why I like I said, a lot of these books that I have, it's like, yes, each one kind of has their own thing that they go through, that they talk about, but at the end of the day, it really is all the same thing. And when you have things telling you the same thing over and over again, at some point you have to believe that that is true, especially if it's coming from very successful people like Tony Robbins, very successful entrepreneur and speaker and things. You know, Brianna is really like laying it on us today. So you have to kind of just see that there has to be some truth to this stuff, right? Okay. The first step in healing anything is taking full accountability. It's no longer being in denial about the honest truth of your life and yourself. It doesn't matter what your life looks like on the outside, it's how you feel about it on the inside. It's not okay to be constantly stressed, panicked, or unhappy. Something is wrong, and the longer you try to love yourself out of realizing this, the longer you're going to suffer. The greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. It is to be able to state the problem plainly and in a straightforward manner. So, the greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. It's to be able to state the problem plainly and in a straightforward manner. That's precisely what you need to do to continue truly uprooting your life and transforming it. It's the first step towards real change. I just said that. That's exactly what my mentor had told me. Can't do anything until you take accountability. So take a piece of paper and pen and write down everything you aren't happy with. Write down very specifically every single problem you face. If you're struggling with finances, you need a very clear picture of what's wrong. Write down every debt, every bill, every asset, and every bit of income. If you're struggling with self image, write down exactly what you dislike about yourself. If it's anxiety, write down everything that bothers or upsets you. You must first and foremost get out of denial and into clarity about what's really wrong. At this point, you have a choice. You can make peace or you can commit to changing. The lingering is what is keeping you stuck. Hello. So you must first and foremost get out of denial and into clarity about what's really wrong. Then you have a choice. You can either make peace with it or you can commit to changing. She said the lingering is what is keeping you stuck, or staying in that in between is what's going to keep you stuck. All right? The path begins where you are now, right where you are now. If you know that change needs to be made in your life, it's okay if you are far away from your goal or if you cannot yet conceive how you will arrive. I'm going to say that again. If you know that change needs to be made in your life, you know that change needs to be made in your life. It's okay if you're far away from your goal or if you basically don't know how you're going to get there. Is what she's saying. It's okay if you're starting at the beginning. It's okay if you're at rock bottom and cannot see your way through. It's okay if you're at the foot of your mountain and have failed every time you've tried to overcome it. Let me say that again. It's okay if you're starting at the beginning. It's okay if you're at rock bottom and can't see your way through. And it's okay if you're at the foot of your mountain and have failed every time you've tried to overcome it. Hello, your telenovela. Okay. Rock bottom is very often where we begin our healing journey. Rock bottom is very often where we begin our healing journey. This is not because we suddenly see the light, not because our worst days are magically transmuted into some type of epiphany, and not because someone saves us from our own madness. Rock bottom becomes a turning point because it's only at that point that most people think, I never want to feel this way again. Rock bottom becomes a turning point because it's only at that point that most people think, I never want to feel this way again. That thought is not just an idea. It's a declaration and a resolution. It's a declaration and a resolution. It is one of the most life-changing things you can ever experience. It becomes the foundation upon which you build everything else. When you decide you truly do not ever want to feel a certain way again, you set out on a journey of self-awareness, learning, and growth that has you radically reinvent who you are. I'm going to say that again. When you decide you truly do not ever want to feel a certain way again, you set out on a journey of self-awareness, learning, and growth that has you radically reinvent who you are. In that moment, fault becomes irrelevant. You're no longer mulling over who did what or how you've been wronged. In that moment, only one thing guides you, and it's this. No matter what it takes, I will never accept my life getting to this point again. In that moment, fault becomes irrelevant. Can't blame anybody anymore for anything. It's irrelevant. You're not worried about who did what or how you've been wronged. In that moment, the only thing that guides you is that no matter what it takes, you'll never accept your life getting to this point again. Yeah. Rock bottom isn't a bad day. It doesn't happen by chance. Rock bottom isn't a bad day. It doesn't happen by chance. We only arrive at rock bottom when our habits begin to compound upon one another. When our coping mechanisms have spiraled so out of control that we can no longer resist the feelings we're attempting to hide. Rock bottom is when we are finally faced with ourselves. When everything has gone so wrong, we are left to realize that there's only one common denominator through it all. We must heal, we must change, we must choose to turn around so that we will never feel this way again. I'm going to go through that again. We only arrive at rock bottom when our habits begin to compound upon one another, when our coping mechanisms have spiraled so out of control that we can no longer resist the feelings we're attempting to hide. It happens when we are finally faced with ourselves. When everything has gone so wrong, we're left to realize that there's only one common denominator. The solution is that we have to heal, we have to change, and we have to choose to turn around so that we will never feel this way again. Okay? When we have a down day, we don't think, I never want to feel this way again. Why? Because it's not fun, but it's also not unbearable. Mostly, though, we're somewhat aware that small failures are a regular part of life. We're imperfect, but trying our best, and that vague discomfort will eventually pass. We don't reach a breaking point because one or two things go wrong. We reach a breaking point when we finally accept that the problem isn't how the world is, it's how we are. We don't reach a breaking point because one or two things go wrong. We reach a breaking point when we finally accept that the problem isn't how the world is, it's how we are. But this is a beautiful reckoning to have. Ayodeji Awosika describes his own like this. You must find the purest form of being fed up. Make it hurt. I literally screamed, I'm not going to fucking live like this anymore. You must find the purest form of being fed up. Human beings are guided by comfort. They stay close to what feels familiar and reject what doesn't, even if it's objectively better for them. Be this as it is, most people do not actually change their lives until not changing becomes a less comfortable option. Damn. Let me say that again. Most people do not actually change their lives until not changing becomes the less comfortable option. This means that they do not actually embrace the difficulty of altering their habits until they simply do not have any other choice. Staying where they are is not viable. They can no longer even pretend that it is desirable in any way. They are, quite honestly, less at rock bottom and more stuck between a rock that's impinging on them and an arduous climb out from beneath it. If you really want to change your life, let yourself be consumed with rage, not towards others, not towards the world, but within yourself. If you really want to change your life, let yourself be consumed with rage, not towards others, not toward the world, but within yourself. Get angry, determined, and allow yourself to develop tunnel vision with one thing and one thing only at the end. that you will not go on as you are. Get angry, determined, and allow yourself to develop tunnel vision with one thing and one thing only, that you will not go on as you are. Preparing for radical change. One of the biggest reasons that people avoid doing important internal work is that they recognize if they heal themselves, their lives will change, sometimes drastically. If they come to terms with how unhappy they are, it means that they will have to temporarily be more uncomfortable, ashamed, or scared while they start all over. One of the biggest reasons that people avoid doing important internal work is that they recognize if they heal themselves, their lives will change, sometimes drastically. If they come to terms with how unhappy they are, it means that they will have to temporarily be more uncomfortable, ashamed, or scared while they start all over. Let's be clear about something. To put an end to your self-sabotaging behavior absolutely means that change is on the horizon. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone, your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being liked and understood. It doesn't matter. The people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. You're going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. Instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you're going to be seen. All you're going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. Remaining attached to your old life is the first and final act of self-sabotage, and releasing it is what we must prepare for to truly be willing to see change. That was chapter 1. So, yeah, that was chapter 1. This book is really, really intense. Like, if you really have been struggling with things, she will call you out. And you have to read this book with the full intention on receiving what it is that she's saying. And as you can tell, the way that it's written, she's very literate. So it's something you really have to take a minute to think about. So if you get this book and you read it, I mean, I read this a long time ago, but I knew already kind of like what it was going to be about. But even just rereading that first chapter, having gone through so much in the last few years, really, really spoke to me more than it did the first time I read it. And that's what I love about having these physical books. Like, nothing is the same as having a physical book, because you can come back to this at different phases in your life, and you might pick something up much differently than the initial time that you read it. That's what's so great about books and having like the physical copy with you. Hi, today we're having therapy. We're having like a therapy session. Free, of course. What do you guys think about that book? That, you can tell already how different these two books were. Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life feels a little bit more autobiographical by Bob Proctor, whereas Brianna is like, no, we're going straight to it. We're going to get straight to it. You know, we're going to really break this down for you. So, again, these are just two of the books that I showed from my live this morning. I have a bunch more. And, yeah, a lot of the books are just as kind of in-depth as this one, more so leaning towards this one than Bob Proctor's that I read a little while ago. really kind of breaking things down for you. What I really like about this book is that she'll not only hold the mirror to you and tell you exactly what it is that you're doing, but she also gives you a solution like right after that. So it's not like you're left feeling like, okay, well then what do you want me to do about it? Like she tells you what you need to do about it. And again, that was just the first chapter. So I can't recommend this book enough. Yeah, this book is so cool. Yeah, I can't recommend this book enough. Like I said, I got through like I was able to get through that chapter, but she got me at some point around here, around wherever this is, 100, page 100. Where are we? Where did I end? Yeah, like really like towards the end of the middle of the book here. Let's see like where I stopped. This is where I stopped. Yeah. Let's see where I stopped. Let's see why I stopped. Let's see. I can already tell why I stopped. Yeah. Releasing the past. Yeah, I know why I stopped now. At the time I was reading this book, I was still getting over my ex, my dad, like a lot of things. This was like a couple years ago. So I already know that that's exactly why I stopped reading it. But I want to know like exactly where I stopped reading. Some of these things here. So she says, you start to let go on the day you take one step toward building a new life, and then let yourself lie in bed and stare at the ceiling and cry for as many hours as you need. You start to let go on the day you realize that you cannot continue to revolve around a missing gap in your life, and going on as you were before will simply not be an option. You start to let go at the moment you realize that this is the impetus, this is the catalyst, this is the moment that movies are made about and the books are written about and the songs are inspired by. You can only move on if you start building something new. What you build in the wake in the aftermath of loss will be so profound, so stunning, you will realize that maybe the loss was part of the plan. Wow. See, this is why I stopped reading. Because I'm like about to cry right now. Oh my god. We're getting a little too deep for this life right now. What other books do you read apart from that one? Yeah, I'll look at some of the other ones. I'll see. Let's close this one for today. I don't know if I'm going to get past that chapter, but maybe if we do it together, we'll get there. Let's see what else I got. Do we want to learn about entrepreneurship, finance? Do we want to go deep? PTSD? Let's see. Do we want to learn about writing? Do we want to learn about branding? Because I have all those kind of books. I have a lot of different types of books here. But let me continue looking through this pile that I have that I set aside. Let me get a bite of this cinnamon roll first, though. It was so good. Actually, that's not it. These ones right here. So I have those ones. Think and Grow Rich is like manifestation, stuff like that. Or we could do Atomic Habits. This one's also really good. That was what I was saying earlier. Highly recommend that book. So you just let me know what you wanna get into. What's our second therapy session gonna be about? Or what's our class gonna be about? Our second period class. This is for writers, screenwriters. Do you want to change your life? Are you stuck, not able to come up with consistent routines? Do you want to learn about manifestation? How to get rich, money? Are you lacking purpose in your life? This one would be for that. Do you want to get real? This one's also the same like the other one. I'm taking a cinnamon roll break. I also have trying to see if I have anything that's like a little bit lighter. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Where's the... Maybe I'll read some of this, because I need to read some of this anyway. Or I don't know, maybe I'll do this one, because this one can be pretty broadly used. Atomic Habits. Do we want to do this one? All right. It's like 7:30. So I'll do this one. I'll do like the first chapter of this one, and then I'll take a break for a little while. I have some work I gotta finish doing. All right. I love this book. I like the other one too, but this one is really helpful. This one's called Atomic Habits. Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results by James Clear. I'm gonna read this one because I need to start working out again. I need to do a lot more therapy for my foot and my leg. And I need to get more intentional with it. So we are going to read through this book together, start to set some small goals for things, and yeah, really start to look into this. So I already read this book, but we're gonna read it together. Okay, for sure, yeah. All this is on my YouTube channel anyway, so I'll have it posted up after. Okay. Atomic Habits by James Clear. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. All right. Hold on a second. All right. The fate of British cycling changed one day in 2003. The organization, which was the governing body for professional cycling in Great Britain, had recently hired Dave Brailsford as its new performance director. At the time, professional cyclists in Great Britain had endured nearly 100 years of mediocrity. Since 1908, British riders had won just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games, and they had fared even worse in cycling's biggest race, the Tour de France. In 110 years, no British cyclist had ever won the event. In fact, the performance of British riders had been so underwhelming that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe refused to sell bikes to the team because they were afraid that it would hurt sales if other professionals saw the Brits using their gear. Brailsford had been hired to put British cycling on a new trajectory. What made him different from previous coaches was his relentless commitment to a strategy that he referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains, which was the philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything you do. Brailsford said, the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could do or everything that could you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. So I'm going to say that again. Commitment to a strategy that he referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains, which was the philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything you do. The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. Brailsford and his coaches began by making small adjustments you might expect from a professional cycling team. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable and rubbed alcohol on the tires for a better grip. They asked riders to wear electrically heated overshorts to maintain ideal muscle temperature while riding, and used biofeedback sensors to monitor how each athlete responded to a particular workout. The team tested various fabrics in a wind tunnel and had their outdoor riders switch to indoor racing suits, which proved to be lighter and more aerodynamic. But they didn't stop there. Brailsford and his team continued to find 1% improvements in overlooked and unexpected areas. They tested different types of massage gels to see which one would lead to fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach each rider the best way to wash their hands to reduce the chances of catching a cold. They determined the type of pillow and mattress that led to the best night's sleep for each rider. They even painted the inside of the team truck white, which helped them spot little bits of dust that would normally slip by unnoticed but could degrade the performance of the finely tuned bikes. As these and hundreds of other small improvements accumulated, the results came faster than anyone could have imagined. Just 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team dominated the road and track cycling events at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, where they won an astounding 60% of the gold medals available. 4 years later, when the Olympic Games came to London, the Brits raised the bar as they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. That same year, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. The next year, his teammate Chris Froome won the race, and he would go on to win again in 2015, 2016, and 2017, giving the British team 5 Tour de France victories in 6 years. During the 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, British cyclists won 178 world champions and 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals and captured 5 Tour de France victories in what is widely regarded as the most successful run in cycling history. How does that happen? How does a team of previously ordinary athletes transform into world champions with tiny changes that at first glance would seem to make a modest difference at best? Why do small improvements accumulate into such remarkable results, and how can you replicate this approach in your own life? Why small habits make a big difference? It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Too often, we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action, whether it's losing weight, building a business, writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal. We put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvement that everyone will talk about. Meanwhile, improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes even it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. Here's how the math works out. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up with 37 times better. You'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you'll decline nearly down to zero. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. This is a little graph. 1% better every day. So you can see 1% improvement, you get exponential increase, 1% decline, you go down over time. It says the effects of small habits compound over time. For example, if you can get just 1% better each day, you'll end up with results that are nearly 37 times better after 1 year. And while I'm reading this book, you can start to think about, if you're a writer or a creator or an artist, how this might apply to you in your own journey. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It's only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones become strikingly apparent. So when I started this live, I showed you guys a lot of like my previous sketches that I've done over the years, and I was talking about that because we were talking about comparisons, and like you only really ever see the highlights of artists, artwork, and you don't ever see all the individual little sketches that they might be making in the years that they're posting their art, right? So I try to show a little bit of that for that reason, but for the same thing that he's saying here, when I started my art journey after I read this book, this right here that he says here is part of the reason why I started to really document a lot of the journey, because I knew from what he was saying that it was going to be really helpful for me to understand the compound effect that he's talking about of the improvement that I had in my art over time. But not doing that, not keeping track, not really having any time to reflect, doing these small things every day isn't going to make you feel like you're actually even doing something. So if you're working on an art journey or writing journey or content creation journey, whatever journey you're on, fitness or eating better or whatever, it can be really helpful to document in some way these small changes that you'll do every day. Even like you said, even if it's a decline, even if it's a good or a bad thing, documenting it. So, or even if it's a day you didn't even do anything, right? Documenting it in some way so that way you can reflect on it and see the compound over time. So let's continue. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It's only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. This can be a difficult concept to appreciate in daily life. We dismiss small changes because they don't seem to matter very much in the moment. That's what I was just saying. If you save a little money now, you're still not a millionaire. If you go to the gym 3 days in a row, you're still out of shape. If you study Mandarin for an hour tonight, you still haven't learned the language. We make a few changes, but the results never seem to come quickly, and so we slide back into our previous routines. Unfortunately, the slow pace of transformation also makes it easy to let bad habits slide. If you eat an unhealthy meal today, the scale doesn't move much. If you work late tonight and ignore your family, they will forgive you. If you procrastinate and put your project off until tomorrow, there will usually be time to finish it later. A single decision is easy to dismiss. But when we repeat 1% errors day after day by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. It's the accumulation of many missteps, a 1% decline here and there, that eventually leads to a problem. The impact created by a change in your habits is similar to the effect of shifting the route of an airplane by just a few degrees. Imagine you're flying from LA to New York. If a pilot leaving from LAX adjusts the heading just 3.5 degrees south, you'll land in Washington instead of New York. Such a small change is barely noticeable at takeoff. The nose of the airplane moves just a few feet, but when magnified across the entire United States, you end up hundreds of miles apart. Similarly, a slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different destination. Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment, but over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path towards success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than your current results. If you're a millionaire, but you spend more than you earn each month, then you're on a bad trajectory. If your spending habits don't change, it's not going to end well. Conversely, if you're broke, but you save a little bit every month, then you're on the path toward financial freedom, even if you're moving slower than you'd like. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. If you want to predict where you'll end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses, and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. Are you spending less than you earn each month? Are you making it into the gym each week? Are you reading books and learning something new each day? Tiny battles like these are the ones that will define your future self. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It'll multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. Habits are a double-edged sword. Bad habits can cut you down just as easily as good habits can build you up, which is why understanding the details is crucial. You need to know how habits work and how to design them to your liking so you can avoid the dangerous half of the blade. Is this like cognitive behavioral therapy? Basically, that's what we're doing right now. Welcome to When the Silent Bird Sings therapy session. All right, here's a little section over here that we can run through. Your habits can compound for you or against you. Yeah, we'll say Gia's therapy session. I like it. There's two sides here: positive compounding and negative compounding. So under positive compounding, I'll go box by box. Productivity compounds. Accomplishing one extra task is a small feat on any given day, but it counts for a lot over an entire career. The effect of automating an old task or mastering a new skill can be even greater. The more tasks you can handle without thinking, the more your brain is free to focus on other areas. Let me go through your positive first actually. Knowledge compounds. Learning one new idea won't make you a genius, but a commitment to lifelong learning can be transformative. Furthermore, each book you read not only teaches you something new, but also opens up different ways of thinking about old ideas. As Warren Buffett says, that's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. If you don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's one of the richest men alive. Relationships compound. People reflect your behavior back to you. The more you help others, the more others want to help you. Being a little bit nicer in each interaction can result in a network of broad and strong connections over time. So now for the negative compounding. Stress compounds. The frustration of a traffic jam, the weight of parenting responsibilities, the worry of making ends meet, the strain of slightly high blood pressure. By themselves, these common causes of stress are manageable, but when they persist for years, little stresses compound into serious health issues. Negative thoughts compound. The more you think of yourself as worthless, stupid, or ugly, the more you condition yourself to interpret life that way. You get trapped in a thought loop. The same is true for how you think about others. Once you fall into the habit of seeing people as angry, unjust, or selfish, you see those kind of people everywhere. It's a little bit like confirmation bias, too. Outrage compounds. Riots, protests, and mass movements are rarely the result of a single event. Instead, a long series of microaggressions and daily aggravations slowly multiply until one event tips the scales and outrage spreads like wildfire. Isn't like the law of attraction. Not necessarily for this part. But yeah, we did talk about that earlier though. What progress is really like. Imagine that you have an ice cube sitting on the table in front of you. The room is cold and you can see your breath. It's currently 25 degrees. Ever so slowly, the room begins to heat up. Or you can easily find the bad and everything, and they will be there. Yeah, so it's almost more like confirmation bias, because it's supposed to be like when you think of something or it's like the forefront of your mind, that's the thing that your mind is focused on, so that's the thing that you kind of always see. Yeah, something like that. Ever so slowly, the room begins to heat up. 26 degrees, 27, 28. The ice cube is still sitting on the table in front of you. 29, 30, 31. Still nothing has happened. Then 32 degrees. The ice begins to melt. A 1 degree shift, seemingly no different from the temperature increases before it, has unlocked a huge change. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions which build up the potential required to unleash major change. I'm going to say that again. Breakthrough moments are often the results of many previous actions which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. So what he's going to be talking about here is similar to how I just was saying, like, we only ever really see like the highlights, right? If we're artists and things like that, we only really ever see the highlights of people's artwork on their account and things like that. For the most part, sometimes there's like work in progress and things like that, but we're not seeing all of the work that people go through And even if you're like comic creator or anything like that, nobody ever really sees all the work that people go through to get the results that they have. And that's why it can be such a dangerous trap to start comparing yourself to other people, because you never truly know, like he was saying, he was counting here, like all these little moments and all these little things that people are doing to get to be where they are. So maybe we only ever see people when they finally blow up, or they get like so many followers on their account, or they get that contract, or they get all these different things, but we're not seeing all the work that they've put in over the years, or however long they've done it to get to where they are. So don't compare yourself to anybody, and just focus mostly on yourself and your own journey, and really taking a lot of time to do the things that he's saying. Reflect, keep track of these small changes and these small things that you're doing. And eventually, when you are successful and you do have the things that you want, you can look back and reflect on your journey, and you'll see where you put in the work, and you'll understand why you're successful. Okay. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions, which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. This pattern shows up everywhere. Hold on a second. Okay. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. We kind of talked about that earlier with Bob Proctor. Gemstones, I don't know much about them really, like crystals and things like that, but I do believe in like energy and that kind of thing. I mean, it's not really like much of a belief because it's like a thing. It's like scientifically proven, but like the spiritual side of it, yeah. And like how energy kind of like manifests and things. Okay. This pattern shows up everywhere. Cancer spends 80% of its life undetectable, then takes over the body in months. Bamboo can barely even be seen for the first 5 years as it builds extensive root systems under the ground before exploding 90 feet into the air within 6 weeks. Oh, you're fine. I mean, I did do tarot card reading before. I would like go see like the psychics and things like that. But I mean, that's like that's kind of like off topic, but like we've talked about it because you know how I feel about like ghosts and like spirits and things like that. So for me, what made me stop doing that was that it got like too real for me. Um when I was like in that space where I was like seeing a couple psychics and things like that, I personally would like see things, and not like people or anything like that, but like orbs and things like that, and feeling like a lot of like energy, because I've always sort of had this thing where I can like feel like energy and things. So um going there and sort of like tapping into that, I think made that part of myself like more aware. And this stuff that we talk about, like becoming aware of yourself in this kind of a sense, is already enough as it is. So I was like, as soon as it started to get like real in that way, and I was like, oh, I'm becoming aware of a whole nother reality, I was like, let's just work on this reality first. Because I'm not quite there yet with the other one. Yeah, that's what it really is. That's what I think it is. And that is, like I said, that's like a little too um I'm just a girl trying to make some money. Like like I'm not trying to like, think about, you know, all that kind of stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Um, so I did do it for a little while, and this had opened my mind to things like the book, like reading and stuff. They told me to leave spirit water for the spirits. See, yeah, I mean, like if you have to, but I don't even want to do none of that. I don't want to leave any kind of like offerings or like anything for them. Um, yeah, I've always been interested in it. Like I love like Ancient Aliens, and I was like obsessed with watching Ghost Adventures, and I still like sometimes I fall asleep to listening like to paranormal like shows and things like that on YouTube. Um but as far as me like getting physically involved with it again, like I don't think I'm going to with the tarot card stuff. Yeah, the books make me think about change, but in the best way. Good. Yeah, that's the whole point of everything that I'm doing here today. Although I take it as a grain of salt for sure. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, like I also took it as a grain of salt, but it got real. And like you can't take it as a grain of salt anymore when things are real, right? So like for me, like so personally, I had two instances. My brother died in like 2013. And I had both instances that I went to two separate tarot readers, like psychics, and these sessions I'll never forget because well, one of them I go in and she does, you know, the card spread and things like that. And no, I didn't go looking. I just went. My it wasn't even me. It was my nephew's mom, who is my brother's kid's mom, the brother that I'm talking about. She was like, "Oh, let's go. Like, I want to go." And um I don't know, she like wanted to figure out what she was supposed to do in her life. She's like, "Oh, should I like move to Florida or not?" I'm like, "That's not really like what you use tarot card and psychics for, but pop off." Like I was like, "Okay." So we went, but she's connected to my brother, obviously. She's my brother's kid's mom. So, I went and for this situation that we were at the place, it was just kind of like a funny thing that she said because she's like, "Oh, she's like, do you drive like kind of fast sometimes?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, your brother is telling you to slow down." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "That's such a weird thing to say." But she said something else after that that I was like, "Oh, weird." I forget what she said after that, but it was like very like specific about my brother. And then after we left, my nephew's mom said something that she had also said, that he's with both of us in different ways. So it was very interesting. I was like, "Oh, that's very interesting." Um and then the other time, the like one of the more prominent times I had gone, um I had been experiencing a lot of things, like a lot of kind of like paranormal type of things, and a lot of dreams, a lot of like sleep paralysis, like a lot of stuff was like going on like that. And we had gone, and in the room I'm like sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, you're connected." And I was like, "Am I?" Like I just sat down, and I looked around. I was like looking at her, but I could see. So I'm like looking at her, right? Like this is her. I'm looking at her, but like over here, I kept seeing like all these like floating orbs, kind of like going back and forth through the walls, and things like that. And she kept seeing me like look up, and she's like, "Oh, they're here, aren't they?" And I was like, I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "What are you seeing? What do you feel?" And she's like, "Well, I know that they're here." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm seeing like some orbs, like they're like coming in and out of the wall. She's like, yeah, those are the spirits. And I was like, oh, this got real for me. Like, this is like too real for me. But I was like, how can I see that? I was like, I don't understand how I can see that. And she's like, no, you're connected. And I was like, I don't want to be connected. I don't want to be connected. What do you mean? So that was some fun shit. um, the mind is a powerful thing. Yeah, yeah. Turn it off, right? Turn it off. Where's the switch? Oh my god. Where's the control? Shit's hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah, that's I'll never forget that. I can like see it so vividly in my mind too. Like they were literally like going in and out of the wall. It was like so strange. Um it was so interesting, but it was um very strange to see to like actually see it like and I feel like I've seen it before, like I've seen those little balls and things, but to know that that's what it was, like to have her confirm and like validate it like right there on the spot was like okay. So that was really interesting. Yeah, and she said a couple things like about my brother and my grandma in that one, which was very interesting, very on the spot. So, I've never been that connected. Right? Oh, you seen UFOs? Dude, okay, so this is what I mean. Like I will try my best to get my mindset right, but when it comes to stuff like that, I just like to stay very blissfully ignorant. Like stay very blissfully ignorant. There was this one time I was driving home. I don't know if I told you this before, but I was driving home, it was late at night. I think I had my son in the car and I was just like jamming out to some music. I was pulling off, like I was on the highway. There's like an exit right here to go off to the road that I live on. And there's like a bridge like kind of like back here. So it's like the highway, the like road to come off, the sign right here in the bridge. And as I was turning off and I was looking at the sign, I saw like out of the corner of my eye over here at the bridge. So like if I'm looking at the bridge, like this is the bridge right here. This blue light, I think it was like sitting like right here, and then all of a sudden it just like shot up, like straight up into the sky. And I was like, what the hell is that? I actually pulled over off that road. I like pulled over and I just stared because I was like, what did I just see? What did I just see? Like I didn't think anything of the blue light. Like I just was like, oh, like a tower, or sometimes they have like the tower, the flashing light on the tower stuff. So I was like, maybe something like that. I don't know. But seeing that thing go from like it was like zoom and then it just like disappeared. I was like, oh, okay, you're messing with my reality now. Don't mess with my reality. I was like, I'll listen to the stuff. I like to watch Ancient Aliens. I like to like believe in that stuff, but I was like, I'm not ready to like experience it. It's like everybody else can have the experiences, and I'm gonna stay right here on the other side of the TV. But that shit was funny. I freaked the fuck out, dude. Like I remember like I got home and again I had my son in the car. He was like maybe like 3 or something, 3 or 4. And I just sat there. Like I was like on the steering wheel. I was just like, oh my god. Like and I really had to sit there. It took me a long time, honestly, like to be so transparent with you. Like it actually took me a long time to come back to ignorant bliss. Like cuz I was so like there was no explanation. There was no way I could have explained it. I even contacted MUFON, which is like the UFO people, and I talked to a guy and I told him because I was like, I need somebody to like talk to about this because I don't know what to do about it. And I talked to him and he was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was like so chill about it. He's like, oh yeah, I've seen stuff, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to see it. You can have my memory. I don't want to see, you can take the memory back. But he was like, oh yeah, 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 well, if anything else happens, like we'll let you know. But he told me, because they had like the radar or something like that, he's like, yeah, there was nothing that night, like in the sky at that time. Like I knew about the same time because like once I got home, it was like about like 9:30 or something like that. So I could tell him a pretty exact time, and he's like, there was like no planes or anything in the air, nothing. And I was like, okay. Like, okay. But sometimes when I'm not paying attention and my matrix glitches, I get that memory again and I have to sit here and like go back into the matrix because I'm not ready to be in the timeline of UFOs and stuff. Like at least not in my reality. But yeah, that shit was funny. I was shooketh. Yeah, I was real shooketh. My mother says mermaids are real, and we have this thing called chinekis. I love mermaids. I love thinking about the idea of them. Um, I won't go in the water though. You're not gonna catch me in the water. My mother and father are like, yeah, they're real and cool about it. It doesn't freak them out. Yeah. I mean, coming from you definitely hits different. Because I'm just a civilian. What do you mean you're just a civilian? You don't want to go UFO hunting? No, see, that's the type of shit that I'm like, that's that like unseen, invisible stuff. Like, I don't want to. The same thing with this, with the spirit stuff. I'm like, it's too, like, it's too weird for me to think that I could just be like laying in my bed and like a spirit's just like hanging out in my room with me. Like, I like my privacy, so I'm like, I don't want to think about it like that. So I just kind of like live in like blissful ignorance about it. Well, I'm a veteran. Yeah, I mean, I never, surprisingly, like when I lived on the base, like I never really had any significant experiences like that either with like UFOs and stuff. Although when I was in North Carolina, I think there might have been like one situation that happened where we saw some lights in the sky and stuff, but it wasn't like this. Like it was like a single sole blue light that just like shot up into the sky type of shit. So we were just kind of like, oh, it could be planes or something or the helicopters. But this connection there because you have been touched by death? I mean, my mom's told me that like I almost died when I was born. So maybe that. But my aunts also told me that because I did go through that I was like, I have like a different, like I'm on like a different wavelength or something. But I'm like, she's like very spiritual, so she was trying to like help me kind of like connect, and I was just like, no, I'm good. Like I'm all set. Oh, he's in North Carolina. Yeah, yeah. Maybe an afterlife connection. Maybe. It's always been like that. It's always been like that. I've never talked really too much about it with people, honestly. So you guys are like the first ones that are getting it. Um, I remember when I was with my ex, I was telling him like I feel like pressure in the air, and he thought I was so crazy. He thought I was probably like going like schizophrenia or something, but I was like, I feel pressure in the air. Like I haven't felt that in a long time, but it would be like if you like wave your hand like this, you could feel the air. It's like there's like pressure in the air, and it would only be like certain spots. It'd feel like a wall, but then it would be like nothing. So, and that was the only way I knew how to explain it, like a pressure in the air. Like, he never got it and made me feel like I was crazy. But, he said, well, open a window. I know, right? But yeah. So, some crazy stuff. But, yeah, I'm not too versed in all that, but I'll help you guys with some habits. We'll keep it real, like, grounded in here, but, yeah, like pressure in the air. Like I can move my hand like this, but it felt like you couldn't move. There was something there, like compressed energy or something. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Um yeah, yeah. No, I haven't really had any pets or anything. No, because I haven't had pets. I've heard that they're like really sensitive to stuff, like dogs and stuff. Um, to be honest though, like to be honest though, like there's been some stuff happening like in my house lately. I'm be honest. I'm be honest. Like I don't want to like put that on you guys, but like there's been some interesting things like happening in my house. Like the books that I'm showing you right now fell off my bookshelf, and I asked my son like, "What the fuck did you do that all my books fell off my bookshelf?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't do that." And I was like, "You're a little liar." I was like, "What do you mean?" It wasn't one book, it was like a lot of books. And I was like, I don't even remember hearing that. So like I don't know if it happened at night or something. And then just the other night, I think like just last night or one of the other nights, I was just sitting here. I think I was on live or I was like talking to somebody, and something fell in the background. And I was like, what the hell? There's nobody here, nothing that I could have thought of that had fallen. And I was just like, all right. So I need to sage my house or something. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. My mom would say the house is haunted. She would live in the back and my family lives in the front. Oh, really? She would go to psychics. So, but that's the thing. Like, with going to the psychics, I was like, because I kept seeing all the spirits and stuff, I was like, yo, like, y'all gotta stay here. Like, you can't come home with me. Like, so I was like, I don't want to go there because I feel like it was just kind of like, it was like, purposefully putting myself in a position to attract it. She would go to psychics, so she was a single mom. I don't know why. Mm, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, so I don't know. Um, anyway though, side quest. I'll finish going through this chapter and then I'll go, cause it's getting late and I have to get my son some dinner and stuff. My room connects to our kitchen, and I'd be saying to, what about holy water? I have to try to find out where to get that. I don't like getting stuff like that like off the internet because I don't know like what people do to it before I get it. But I don't know. I'll go to like a church maybe or something and see. Um, I haven't blessed this apartment, although to be honest, I did go to Mexico a few years ago, and I got two different things. I brought it back with me, and I did one of those like blessing things. They like did the incense or whatever. Um and one of the things I bought was like a little mask thing or something. I forget if it was like a mask or it was like something like that. And then the other thing was like a necklace. They did something in the metal to like our names or something in Mayan. So I always like wondered, I was like, I don't know if something happened with that. Cause that was like a couple years ago, and weird stuff's been happening. And then I tried to get rid of it, So I don't really know how to get rid of this, but I just ended up tossing it because I was like, I don't know if it's causing a problem. But what was it? I bought something and they were like, oh, you have to like do it with the moon and cleanse with the moon or something like that. And they were like, that's the only way to. It was like a little statue or something. I forget. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Kokuchi. Yeah. Um, I didn't do that. I just threw it in the trash. So probably fucked it up by doing it like that. But yeah, I forget what they said. They said something about it. They were like, oh, because it was like some kind of like stone or something. They were like, oh, you have to like it's gonna like absorb all the negative energy, but like you have to like I was supposed to like cleanse it with the moon every month or something. I like didn't do that, so probably cursed myself. I don't know. I have no idea, but yeah. So anyway, sidetrack. Yeah, it's like the egg. Yeah. Oh, it was like like black opal or something like that. It was like a black, some kind of black stone. Um, yeah. But yeah, okay. Let's finish doing this. Um, let's finish doing this. All right. So again, this is the Atomic Habits book, and we're just on chapter 1 right now. All right. We went through that part. Similarly, habits often fear. Okay. Okay. All right. Similarly, habits often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. In the early and middle stages of any quest, there is often a valley of disappointment. You expect to make progress in a linear fashion, and it's frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first days, weeks, and even months. It doesn't feel like you're going anywhere. It's a hallmark of any compounding process. The most powerful outcomes are delayed. This is one of the core reasons why it's so hard to build habits that last. Oh wait, what? One time I heard a knock coming from my brother's room and no one was there. Oh my god. Alright. People make a few small changes, fail to see a tangible result, and decide to stop. You think, I've been running every day for a month, so why can't I see any change in my body? Once this kind of thinking takes over, it's easy to let good habits fall to the wayside. But in order to make a meaningful difference, habits need to persist long enough to break through this plateau, what I call the plateau of latent potential. If you find yourself struggling to build a good habit or break a bad one, it's not because you have lost your ability to improve. It's often because you have not yet crossed the plateau of latent potential. Complaining about not achieving success despite working hard is like complaining about an ice cube not melting when you heated it from 25 to 31 degrees. Your work was not wasted, it's just being stored. All the action happens at 32 degrees. I have taken philosophy, but I liked psychology better because I prefer science instead of like theories, like how philosophy was. Yeah. You didn't take any psychology classes? The only one that I didn't like for psychology was like I liked behavioral psychology. I liked just like the general one, but I think it was the social psychology that I didn't really like. It was like annoying. Or no. Oh, sociology. That's the one. Sociology. I was like, this is stupid. I like psychology better. Uh, anthropology. I've never taken that. Anthropology. But yeah, I've taken like a lot of different psychology courses. Um, but yeah, hey, what's up? We're reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. All right. Where was I? Complaining about not achieving success despite working hard is like complaining about an ice cube not melting when you heated it from 25 to 31 degrees. Your work was not wasted, it's just being stored. All the action happens at 32 degrees. When you finally break through the plateau of latent potential, people will call it an overnight success. The outside world only sees the most dramatic event rather than all that preceded it. But you know that it's the work you did long ago when it seemed that you weren't making any progress that makes the jump today possible. So that's what I was saying earlier. With art and just in general, like writing or whatever it is that you're doing, people are going to see these highlights and they're going to think like, oh, you're so great and you know it happened so quickly or whatever, but really they're not seeing like all the work that you're putting in. It's the human equivalent of geological pressure. Two tectonic plates can grind against one another for millions of years, the tension slowly building all the while. Then one day they rub each other once again in the same fashion they have for ages, but this time the tension is too great. An earthquake erupts. Change can take years before it happens all at once. Mastery requires patience. The San Antonio Spurs, one of the most successful teams in NBA history, have a quote from social reformer Jacob Riis hanging in their locker room. When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two. And I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. The plateau of latent potential. So here's a diagram. If you guys want to screenshot or anything. Right now we're reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is a great book. I finished reading this book already, so I'm just reading it with you guys. But we're going through to see what we can apply to our lives right now. Whether it's if you're an artist, creator, you want to I just got distracted by your username, Sakuna Booty Juicy. Oh my god. Yeah, but anyway, that's what we're doing right now. Alright, so alright. This is the plateau of latent potential. So we have results on one side and we have time on the other. And we have two different arrows that are, or two different like lines here that are going in different directions. So we have one that's going linearly and then one that's kind of like more exponential. And it says there's this space in between, that's the valley of disappointment. And so it says this line is what you think should happen, this like linear success. This kind of more slower to build line is what actually happens. So it's the gap, this valley of disappointment is more so less like the gap between what we expect or what we think should happen and what's actually happening. Hello. So he says here, we often expect progress to be linear. At the very least, we hope it will come quickly, but in reality, the results of our efforts are often delayed. It's not until months or years later that we realize the true value of the previous work we have done. This can result in a valley of disappointment, where people feel discouraged after putting in weeks or months of hard work without experiencing any results. However, this work was not wasted, it was simply being stored. It is not until much later that the full value of previous efforts is revealed. So, if you're going through something and you see that there's not a lot of progress, there's not really a lot going on, it could also just be that you just need to keep going, and eventually your what he was saying before, the compound effect of all these small little things that you're doing, will eventually become something. What we see often is that people will drop off before they get started, and then obviously you'll never be able to see the success that you have, whether or not you thought that you would have success, or the actual success that you could have. So it's just important to kind of push through this valley of disappointment here. Okay. So he says, all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger. Roots entrench themselves and branches grow. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one day at a time. I like that kind of imagery of the bad habit being a tree, because I get the visual of like roots being deep set in the ground. And it's similar to how like bad habits can be. It can feel like you're trying to really uproot and pull a tree out of the ground. It's really difficult to do that. And trees are really, really massive. So it's like this massive kind of like deeply rooted thing that you have to try to get rid of. It's very hard to do that. Whereas what he says here, and the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one at a time. That visual I like for the compound effect of the good habits, and just like the difference there. I just thought that was like really interesting to like analogy to kind of like explain the difference. But what determines whether we stick with a good habit long enough to survive the plateau of latent potential and break through to the other side? What is it that causes some people to slide into unwanted habits and enables others to enjoy the compounding effects of good ones? Forget about goals, focus on systems instead. Prevailing wisdom claims that the best way to achieve what we want in life, getting into shape, or getting into better shape, building a successful business, relaxing more and worrying less, spending more time with friends and family, is to set specific, actionable goals. For many years, this is how I approached my habits too. Each one was a goal to be reached. I set goals for the grades I wanted to get in school, for the weights I wanted to lift in the gym, for the profits I wanted to earn in business. I succeeded at a few, but I failed at a lot of them. Eventually, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. What's the difference between systems and goals? It's a distinction I learned from Scott Adams, the cartoonist behind the Dilbert comic. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you're a coach, your goal might be to win a championship. Your system is the way you recruit players, manage your assistant coaches, and conduct practice. Oh, really? San and Gia. If you're an entrepreneur, your goal might be to build $1 million business. Your system is how you test product ideas, hire employees, and run marketing campaigns. If you're a musician, your goal might be to play a new piece. Your system is how often you practice, how you break down and tackle different measures, and your method for receiving feedback from your instructor. Now for the interesting question. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still succeed? For example, if you were a basketball coach and you ignored your goal for and you ignored your goal to win a championship and focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? I think you would. The goal in any sport is to finish with the best score, but it would be ridiculous to spend the whole game staring at the scoreboard. The only way to actually win is to get better each day. In the words of 3-time Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, the score takes care of itself. The same is true for other areas of life. If you want better results, often forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. What do I mean by this? Are goals completely useless? Of course not. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and not enough time designing your system. The guy's angry and resents the girl because she left him in his most vulnerable moment because of her father, and she wants him and wants his forgiveness. It's not similar as that. Oh, that's funny. That is kind of similar. Send me the link for it or whatever. Send me the name or like where to find it. Oh shit. What did they do? I can't share links. The account or activity on it may deceive others. This is so fucking dumb. Ends on August 11th. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Yes, I made like the link for it. Oh, hold on, I missed what she said. It's in Spanish. Yeah, that's fine. Just send it to me. It's a subplot. I think she does get pregnant, but lost it, which does send him to a spiral. Hi, just arrived. I'd like to know what this is about. He's prone to drink. Yeah, let me see what that's about. Right now we're reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. So today I've just been kind of like reading and talking a lot about things. I'll try to find some scenes of DMU. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna call this the When the Silent Bird Sings therapy session or Gina's therapy session. So this week's therapy session has been about mindset, and we also read, where is it? A book called The Mountain Is You, but I have to find it. No idea where I put it. Oh, it's right here. So we also read this book too. It's called The Mountain Is You. We read the first chapter, and this is a book I highly recommend getting. Made a lot of points even in just the first chapter here. This one for if you're really struggling to make changes in your life, you feel like there's blocks in your life and things like that. This book will definitely let you know what the fuck they are, because it's very straightforward. So I recommend getting this book if you're really struggling, but you want to make a change, but you're just not sure how. I like this book because it also will tell you basically what is going on with you, but then also gives you some good like instant solutions on how to start fixing a lot of those things. So again, it's called The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss, I guess Weiss. And then this one, like I said, is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this one I read through. Amazing book, highly recommend. If you get these together, I think that's even better. This one will tell you what you need to change, and this book is going to tell you exactly how to set up frameworks and systems and things to make those changes. I do read a lot. I haven't read often lately just because I'm so busy working on my own story and things, but I have a ton of books. If you check out my other live that's on, well, if you're on TikTok, but if you go on my YouTube channel, I just posted a live last night and was talking about all these different books that I have here and just sharing my thoughts on them. And a lot of these are self-help books, yes, but I also have books that are writing books. There's Romance Beat. I have branding books. I have finance books that I bought. Things like that. I also have let's see, some more educational type books if you really are ready to sort of dive into certain things. I have two here that I can highly recommend. This is Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, and this one is The Body Keeps the Score. And this one goes into a lot of trauma and things like that. This one is really, really good for just educating on trauma and, how to sort of manage that and things like that. So a lot of like self-help books. I have some like fiction books and things too, but I haven't really read too much. I think like the most recent fiction book I read was it's an Anna Huang book, Twisted Love, I think, or Twisted Hate. Yeah, Twisted Hate, that's the one. I read that one, and other than that, I haven't really read a fiction book in a long time. But I'm a comic creator, so I'm a comic writer, and this is my comic account. So I have a story, a romance drama, but yeah, I guess we're doing therapy now too over here, so I guess that's like what we're doing over here too. So we're just reading chapter 1 today. This has been kind of fun though. I've kind of enjoyed doing this, and I needed to get back into these books anyway, so I think I might make this kind of like a thing, and maybe we can actually get through some of these books together. And this is all just kind of like a refresher for me too, but it's good. It's good. Good content. All right, so let's get back into this. Okay. Now for the interesting question. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still succeed? For example, if you were a basketball coach and you ignored your goal to win a championship and focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? I think you would. The goal in any sport is to finish with the best score, but it would be ridiculous to spend the whole game staring at the scoreboard. The only way to actually win is to get better each day. In the words of 3-time Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, the score takes care of itself. The same is true for other areas of life. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. I actually like that. I was thinking of like what I was trying to say earlier about that, but the score takes care of itself to me is kind of like a little bit of like how my approach is with manifestation and things, where it's like right now, so like personally right now, I'm just working every single day on the things I need to do. And I'm not paying too much attention to the numbers I have coming in and things like that. The only thing I'm really looking at is it going up or is it going down? And then I'm kind of looking back at the data to see what happened that in that specific time frame to be able to know, like, okay, that worked or that didn't work. And that's kind of how I look at it. So like subscribers, likes, follows, reads, income, things like that. I'm just looking at that. The score takes care of itself though. For me, is like putting in that work every day, and just doing small reflections every day. I know is what will help me to not only stay on track but eventually get to where I want to be, because if I'm continuing to work on it every single day and then monitoring what I'm doing, which is those small reflections, so I can make sure that I'm just adjusting slightly if it's, a little bit better. Maybe it was a little worse, so I need to change a little bit to make it better. But making those small adjustments every day, eventually, like he says and shows on the graph, eventually it'll have this compound effect and we'll get to where we want to go. So I do have like an overall goal, like I was saying on my live earlier, like YouTube, I have an overall goal 100,000 subscribers by the end of August. And I'm looking at the strategy, I'm looking at the plan that I have, just making sure that's set up. But then it's like, that's it. And I'm just like, okay, let's just go for it. Every single day we'll do what we need to do to get there. That's what this graph would be like, this 1% improvement. And eventually we'll reach the goal eventually. And it's just, we'll get there eventually. So I like that saying right here, the score takes care of itself, because to me, like I said, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like if you focus too much on, like you said, the scoreboard or your results or your numbers or the vanity metrics and things like that, it just really isn't going to do a whole lot. What matters is the actual work that you're putting in to make those numbers change. So yeah, anyway. But yeah. So he goes on to say, what do I mean by this? Are goals completely useless? Of course not. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. So that's exactly what I just said. So like I have a general idea of where I want the channel to go, 100,000. That's a goal. But the systems and the things that I'm doing every day are really what's going to get us there. And that's what I'm putting a lot more effort and energy into, is those everyday types of things that I can do to get us there. Problem number 1. Winners and losers have the same goals. Goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. We concentrate on the people who end up winning, the survivors, and mistakenly assume that ambitious goals led to their success while overlooking all of the people who had the same objective but didn't succeed. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every candidate wants to get the job. And if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It wasn't the goal of winning the Tour de France that propelled the British cyclists to the top of the sport. Presumably, they had wanted to win the race every year before, just like every other professional team. The goal had always been there. It was only when they implemented a system of continuous small improvements that they achieved a different outcome. I'm working on my Olympian God. Do you mean for your story? Problem number 2. Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. Imagine you have a messy room and you set a goal to clean it. If you summon the energy to tidy up, then you will have a clean room, for now. But if you maintain the same sloppy, pack rat habits that led to a messy room in the first place, soon you'll be looking at a new pile of clutter and hoping for another burst of motivation. You're left chasing the same outcome because you never changed the system behind it. You treated a system without addressing the cause. Achieving a goal only changes your life for the moment. That's the counterintuitive thing about improvement. We think we need to change our results, but the results are not the problem. What we really need to change are the systems that cause those results. When you solve problems at the results level, you only solve them temporarily. In order to improve for good, you need to solve problems at the systems level. Fix the inputs, and the outputs will fix themselves. I like that. Fix the inputs, and the outputs will fix themselves. Yeah. Greek one or 6'7" is better. 6'7". Wait, what? For his height? How tall is the bottom? If the bottom's like five, why so tall though? Like what's the reason for that? I mean, is it like because the bottom is Cupid? I hope you're not doing what we talked about the other day. He's gonna be like a normal size, right? But is he like gonna be small though, like how we were talking the other day? Or is he gonna be like normal size, like the bottom? Okay, are you doing height difference though, or are you doing like body difference, like we were talking the other day? Because I think like it doesn't really matter how tall he is as long as he looks like an adult, right? Because that's like what we were talking about the other day. Yeah, 5'5". Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, so as long as you keep it like that, then it doesn't really matter like how tall he is. He can be short or whatever. But just don't make his body look like pubescent. Hello. What is your question? What's up? You can ask me a question. What's your question? He's not gonna look like a child. Okay. Yeah. Then that's fine. Maybe like if he's 6'7", maybe like 5'9". Or like 5'5". I mean, cause like Gia is like 5'4", and San is 6'5". But for you, that might be like too close of a size difference. So if he's like 6'7", then at least he's like a little bit bigger. So like if you think of San and how tall he is over Gia, like you can keep him like 5'5", 6'7". Maybe that would be okay for the height difference. Yeah, like 5'5" probably is fine. I'm 5'5", and I feel like I'm the 5'5" with like a really short torso, but your character looked like he had a really long torso. So I think just like making the, you know, like the top match that, I guess, for proportions or whatever. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I read that. All right. Problem number 3. Goals restrict your happiness. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. The problem with a goals first mentality is that you're continually putting happiness off until the next milestone. I've slipped into this trap so many times, I've lost count. For years, happiness was always something for my future self to enjoy. I promised myself that once I gained 20 pounds of muscle, or after my business was featured in the New York Times, then I could finally relax. Furthermore, goals create an either or conflict. Either you achieve your goal and are successful, or you fail and you are a disappointment. You mentally box yourself into a narrow version of happiness. This is misguided. It is unlikely that your actual path through life will match the exact journey you had in mind when you set out. It makes no sense to restrict your satisfaction to one scenario when there are many paths to success. I'm gonna read that again. It's unlikely that your actual path through life will match the exact journey you had in mind when you set out. It makes no sense to restrict your satisfaction to one scenario when there are many paths to success. A systems first mentality provides the antidote. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. And a system can be successful in many different forms, not just the one you first envision. I think 5-8 is fine. So I like this right here because removing that kind of expectation from the things that you're doing can really, like you said here, like open you up to being able to be present in the moment, which is like kind of like this last part that he's saying. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, or when you fall in love with the process rather than the outcome, then you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. So basically what he's saying is like, when it comes to like social media or like our art or comics and things like that, you stay present in the moment with where you are in the journey, and as long as you find value in that, then you're satisfied. Every single day you'd be satisfied. So like for me, this kind of like not exactly the same thing, but just something I just thought of. Like, we're only on episode 6 of my comic, and I desperately want to be in like episode 20 like so bad, for like whatever is gonna come after these next several episodes. It just gets so much better to me personally in the storyline and everything like that. And sometimes I get really frustrated with the pace that I have, and it's nothing to do with anybody except for myself, because I have to finish writing these episodes and get everything else out. But if I, instead of being too hasty, trying to get to that point in the story and things like that, and hating where I am right now, staying present in this moment and staying present in the process of the journey can really help to ground me in, with this whole situation. So a little bit different, but just something that like kind of like came off, made me think of that. That's a huge jump. I know. Well, we're in episode 6, but episode 6 is really like episode 6 through 10, because there's like 4 different parts, and it just lasts forever. And once we get past episode 10, then I feel like we're really kind of moving with the storyline and stuff. And I just really want to see Young Ho. I just really want to get to him. Oh my god. But like I said, if we're gonna go with what James Clear said, we have to stay present in the moment. But I can be excited for Young Ho, right? I can still be excited to see him. But in the meantime, I have to be satisfied with Patreon content. Because that's all I got. All I got is the Patreon. I can be excited for Young Ho, even if Son's the MC. Oh, I can see it so vividly in my mind when he comes, and I'm just like, I want to see it so bad. So that's the problem with being not the artist. Because if I was the artist, I would have already drawn that episode. We would have already been done with that episode. But since I'm not the artist, I have to literally wait just as much as the readers have to wait. And I'm dying. All right. Let me see. Okay, good. I have like one page left, so let me get through this. All right. So yeah, so basically here, stay present in the moment and love the journey. You have to be chronological, even if you are the artist, you can't just jump around. Yeah, I know, but at least I could have like sketched it by now or something. And like, or done like the storyboard or something so I could like see it. I can't even do that. At least until I get a storyboard artist. We still don't have a storyboard artist. So as soon as I get a storyboard artist, I'm gonna start doing that for a lot of the episodes, is just seeing like what these panels and things might look like. And I think honestly, like for me, I think it would help me a lot be able to even write the episodes, like finish writing the episodes. Because it's hard to write the episode before I have any visuals of the situation. So it's just really a challenge. Like I'm writing it, but it's hard sometimes to like pull out the dialogue and things if I can't see it. It's kind of like writing blind a little bit. Like I want to be able to, do you know what I mean? Like if this was like a movie set, like at least the like I could direct people better if they were like right there. So I write basically the scene and stuff as it is, but sometimes I make changes and things depending on when I get like the final storyboard. But okay, anyway, let me get through this and then I'm gonna show you guys the pictures that I have for the Draw This in Your Style. And then I have to actually do some work because it's like 9 o'clock and yeah, I haven't done any work today. So I've been like reading books all day, which is fine. This is good. All right. Goals are at odds with long-term success or long-term progress. Finally, a goal-oriented mindset can create a yo-yo effect. Many runners work hard for months, but as soon as they cross the finish line, they stop training. The race is no longer there to motivate them. When all of your hard work is focused on a particular goal, what is left to push you forward after you achieve it? This is why many people find themselves reverting to their old habits after accomplishing a goal. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. True long-term thinking is goalless thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It's about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. It's your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. A system of atomic habits. If you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you, the problem is your system. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. He says that a lot in this book, and it's so important. You don't rise to the level of the goals, you rise or you fall to the level of your systems. Focusing on the overall system rather than a single goal is one of the core themes of this book. It is also one of the deeper meanings behind the word atomic. By now, you've probably realized that an atomic habit refers to a tiny change or a marginal gain, a 1% improvement. But atomic habits are not just any old habits, however small. They are little habits that are part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. Habits are like habits are like the atoms of our lives. Each one is a fundamental unit that contributes to your overall improvement. At first, these tiny routines seem insignificant, but soon they build on each other and fuel bigger wins that multiply to a degree that far outweighs the cost of their initial investment. They are both small and mighty. This is the meaning of the phrase atomic habits, a regular practice, a routine that is not only small and easy to do, but also the source of incredible power, a component of the system of compound growth. All right, so here's a quick chapter summary. We have habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Getting 1% better every day counts for a lot in the long run. Habits are double-edged swords. They can work for you or against you, which is why understanding the details is essential. Small changes often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed. You need to be patient. An atomic habit, am I saying that right? An atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. I would still say, for what he had said, goals are still direction, are good for having direction. So set goals to have direction, but yes, focus on the system. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Hello. So that was very, today's been a lot. I don't know if there's people that have been with me all day, but this was a heavy day. A heavy day of reflection and internal work, but I love it. And it's so important. And I'm doing this for myself as well. I think it's important to always kind of have these reflections and just constantly be like learning and like he said, like refining and stuff like that. So I'll come on again at some point. Maybe I'll stick with these two for now, and maybe see how far we can get with it. Because I think these two go pretty much hand in hand, like I said earlier. This one really will help you get unstuck with some of the issues that you might be having in your life. But this one is going to help you be able to come up with different processes to and formats and formulas and things to start to make those changes that you need to make, that she'll talk to you about in this book. So I think this is really good. I'll see if I can maybe find these two books. I'll put like an Amazon link on my account, on my Beacons link. But yeah, that's all I have. I have a phone call coming in I gotta take. So and I'm gonna get some work done and stuff like that. So it's been great hanging out with you guys today, and thanks for listening to me read to you guys. If you have any questions or anything, definitely DM me, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.